A sunken place, a scary red balloon, superhero movies galore, good times and ghost stories, beach rats and ladybirds, sacred deer, apes being strong together, a kind and polite talking British bear, a religious velociraptor, and finding romance with an aquatic creature. It's time to let the past die. We're going to kill it if we have to, because we're going to unpack 2017's year in film. I'm Andrew. You can, of course, call me by my name. I welcome you back to the Revisionist Almanac, part of the Movie Archer Podcast Network. We are going to continue on with Season 3, and I'm so thrilled to welcome back a Season 2 guest, as well as bringing someone new onto the show tonight. But you've already heard from that person before, so don't you worry. Up first, I'm going to introduce you to one of my movie BFFs. She was on the 1934 Almanac all the way about a year ago to this day. She's a published author. She's a podcast host. She's an extraordinary content creator, somebody I admire every single day. She's just an all-around amazing person, and I'm so delighted to once again be talking movies with Klarissa Beckstead. Hi, Klarissa.
Oh my gosh, hello. Seriously, already tearing up. Andrew's just amazing. So sweet. The sweetest intro. I literally cannot even tell you how happy I am to be back. And with such an amazing year, with such an amazing group of pals. I mean, this is going to be just so good, you guys.
We're gonna have a blast, Klarissa. It's been far too long since we've gotten together. It was around Halloween, I think, right? When we did that Halloween draft on your show.
Yes, and but then we did 90s, but that was like right after, so it's still been a minute. Yeah.
Yes. It feels like it's been forever.
It really does. It does.
Well, I'm so excited to talk to you once again. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And joining the two of us tonight is a brilliant freelance journalist. She covers business and entertainment. She was most recently on as the TV reporter for Adweek, and she's previously worked for People and NBC News. You can find her writing in Fast Company Inc. magazine, Gold Derby, Observer, Campaign, Polygon, Sherwood News, Texas Monthly, and more. Good Lord, that's a resume. I'm going to welcome to the show Saleah Blancaflor. Hi, Saleah.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for having me. And Klarissa. I'm so excited to talk movies with both of you tonight. I know we've talked a lot online, but it's always fun to actually get to be on camera together. So...
I have admired your work from afar so much. You're such a prolific writer. I have loved the stuff you've been doing with Gold Derby, especially lately. So it's just going to be wonderful to catch up with you.
I'm excited.
I also have to say, Saleah, if you follow her on Instagram, she's always like posting all of the fun stuff she does in New York City. And I feel like I'm living vicariously through you all the time with all the fun adventures you get to go on.
Seriously. Yeah, your Squid Game thing looked like so much fun.
It is fun. No, it is really fun being able to do all that. But definitely gets tiring after a while. I'm like, I just want to sleep. I think I told earlier, I was like, I took the longest nap after work, and I was like, it's nice. Especially now it's been like super cold here. I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah, hibernation season for sure.
I miss the days of a good nap. Maybe a few more years when the kids are a little older, I can nap again. I'm very excited for that. I'm going to be the old dad napping. Okay, well, just a reminder for everybody, this is the show that looks back on past Academy Award ceremonies with the luxury of hindsight, and we're going to determine what should have won Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, the 4 acting categories. Before we start things off, though, I do hope you take time to rate and review the channel on whatever podcast platform you're using, as well as finding and following the show on every social media platform. The handle's Rev Almanac, and of course, you can find all the video content for Rev Almanac in one easy spot. MovieArcher.com is the place for that. Okay, so 2017. If you don't remember that year, the Best Picture winner was, of course, Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. Now, I always like when I have a first-time guest to kind of get an assessment of how the experience was. Saleah, this is your debut Almanac experience. How did you find the prep? You've had a lot of time. We've been planning this out for over a year at this point, so you've had some time. How was your journey? How did you find it?
Yeah, no, it was a lot. I feel like I already watched a lot of movies anyway. Like, I feel like on top of the movies I was rewatching, I was already watching like movies from whatever year it's like, that came out, and like other movies as well. So definitely a lot, but it was good. It was nice to revisit some of the movies from that year that I really loved. And then also checking out some of the newer movies that I didn't get to watch from that year was really great. And yeah, I think like as soon as we started it, I had kind of jumped into it because I think at one point we were chatting and I was like, I think I finished early because there were some that I had already rewatched pretty recently, even before prep, that I was like, I don't think I need to rewatch this one only because, you know, it gives me time to watch some of the other movies. But it's just so funny because I feel like I started it pretty early on, that some of the movies that I rewatched or watched, I'm like, I hope I like didn't forget it by the time we recorded because I've just watched so many movies since then. But no, it was, I feel like for me, it was nice to kind of get that start early on for it. But it was definitely a lot. I feel like starting early for me, I think, was good, again, because I feel like I was watching a bunch of movies already that year. So I think being able to start like as soon as we did it, I think was really helpful for me to actually like get through it and get through some of those new movies. But again, like I said, I was like, because we started it so long ago, I'm like, oh no, I feel like I may have forgotten some of the movies, or at least maybe like plot points or things that happened. But I remember for the most part, like what happens in a lot of them, like the general gist of the movies and what I liked and didn't like about some movies. So
I don't know about the two of you, but for me, so this is the most recent year I've covered on the show in 3 seasons now. So most of these movies are still pretty fresh in my brain, and I feel like they're new enough that I go back to a lot of these quite frequently already. So this prep process was actually pretty easy, even though there were a lot of movies. This is a really great year, a really deep year. Klarissa, were a lot of these movies already kind of baked into your life? You've already watched them, or did you find that you were going and seeing a lot of things for the first time? Like, how was your navigation of this year with what you've seen before? What was new? Like, how was your journey?
Yeah, I'm actually, there really were only, I think, two movies on this list that I had seen um in this year. So I saw Dunkirk. I remember Dunkirk in theaters, and I remember Shape of Water changing my life. That movie was so good. So I remember when that came out, but the rest of these, I don't know if I was just like under a rock or what happened, but like going through this year in prep, I'm like, oh my gosh, how? Like, I know these exist. They've been out there, but how in the world have I not gotten to them? So I actually feel incredibly lucky to have been like diving into this year, because there is just way too much here that is notorious in the film world. Like, everyone, oh, you have got to see Call Me by Your Name. Like, that is an absolute must. Everyone tells me that. Get Out was one of the biggest ones that I hadn't seen until this year. But this year, not 2017. But I hadn't seen it, and so I was like, man, you're right. Like, that is a lot that I've got to get to. And so and you know what? There is such a wide array of genres and films and stories, experiences, performances in this year. It's crazy. I was like, how did this happen? How is this one year? And I'm sure, Andrew, you feel that all the time going through these. But I seriously, there have been a couple times where I'm like, this was one year. This was one, like, this was 365 days. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. So anyway,
That
I absolutely loved it.
that leads me to my real hot take that people are already like firing away questions at me the last couple days on social media. Everyone raves about 2019 for obvious reasons. That was the Parasite year, a really great year in film.
Huge.
I would argue that 2017 might be deeper, top to bottom. This year is stacked. There are so many, and genre is all over the place. Like, every single genre has some really big high points. So I might put 2017 up against 2019 for all the people out there that claim that's the best year of the century, which it might be. But I think 2017, as we're going to talk about tonight, is going to show the quality and the depth of this particular year for sure. Before we get into all of the movies that we're going to praise, we always like to throw a couple of hot takes out there and see if there are any movies we didn't have a good time with. So, Saleah, of all the movies that you watched, were there any that you came across first time or revisits that you were just not thrilled to watch?
It's interesting. I'm trying to think of some of the new, like, it's interesting because I feel like there weren't any movies that year that I like particularly was like, oh, I hated this movie. I feel like, I mean, there are some that maybe I'm like didn't love as much. Like, I'm not the biggest fan, and I feel like in my like like in my friend circles, like people know that I'm actually not the biggest, and I feel like this is a hot take on its own, but I'm actually not even like the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. Like, I do like him, but like Dunkirk actually is not like one of my favorite movies. Like, I appreciate like the direction of it, but I'm just like not the biggest fan of war movies in general. And so that was one movie that I just like didn't love as much as all the other movies in 2017. And yeah, so I feel like that is probably a hot take. A lot of people in the film community might be like, that's a hot take right there. I did like it as a movie. I just feel like I just didn't love it as much as everybody's did. And trying to think of some movies revisit. I'm also not the biggest fan of the movie Mother. I know a lot of people have lots of thoughts of that movie. I almost considered rewatching it, but I was like, I remember it. So like, but in terms of new movies, I mean, some of the newer movies I watched, like there were movies that I really liked, but had a really hard time just like watching it, where like the experience itself wasn't like the most pleasant. Like I think one of the first movies I watched for the first time was Beach Rats, which I did like, but it's definitely a hard watch. Also Detroit I had never seen before, which I think Catherine Bigelow did an incredible job. The direction, the performances from Will Poulter and John Boyega are incredible in it, but it's a really difficult watch, and it's one of those movies where I'm like, I don't know if I could ever watch it again. I think I also feel that way about Beach Rats. But it's one of those movies where it's such a great movie, but it's such a difficult movie that I just don't know if I could ever watch these movies again. So yeah, no movies that I particularly like hated. It's just there's some, so it's like one of those movies where it's some of those movies where like the experience is a little rougher, that you know, it's like,
yeah,
you know, you can
there's
watch
some
it
one
once.
and dones. Yeah. Definitely some one and dones this year that we'll talk about for sure. Klarissa, what about you? Anything that you just did not have the best time with during this prep process?
I will say the one that I really was trying to like and just it didn't really, and I think it's because you're not supposed to, is Roman J. Israel Esquire. Uh, he is so problematic, but he's definitely like the definition of an unreliable narrator. And so that's nice to see because you just want to trust him so badly. But then you're like, what are you doing? And so I kind of felt myself irking that almost that entire movie, where I really was like, man, you make it hard to be on your team. And then at the end I was like, I don't think we're really supposed to be fully on his team. I think we're supposed to empathize and understand with where he's coming from economically and like as a person, but yeah, that was I don't know. I mean, great performance, Denzel, but nah, not my favorite. And also, like, I'm not the most massive fan of Dunkirk either. I liked it, I enjoyed it. I remember watching it in the year and like briefly revisiting it. And I did recently, so I actually didn't really watch it for this rewatch specifically. So I was just like, yeah, it's fresh in my mind. Like, it's a war movie. Hello, Harry Styles. Welcome to movies, I guess. But yeah, so it's just that was kind of like my one thing, but I didn't really like or love, so but other than that, really, I was so impressed. I was so impressed with this year. So that's kind of it. That's my one gripe.
I don't have really too many low points either. I'll throw out a couple that I don't love, but I respect for different reasons. I'm not going to devolve this into a Star Wars conversation. I have never been a big Last Jedi person. I understand that some people revere The Last Jedi as their favorite Star Wars movie. It's not my cup of tea, as Spike Lee would say. I think it is a beautiful looking movie. I think The Last Jedi is the best looking Star Wars film that's ever been made. I just don't vibe with what Rian Johnson did plot wise with some of the character choices. Just not for me. And then this is going to be sort of me revealing my hand to one of my categories. Something about Darkest Hour. I love Gary Oldman as an actor, but I just think that movie is so gimmicky in terms of, like, it's just a piece to show that he's wearing a prosthetic suit and he's doing the thing as Winston Churchill. And I just don't. That's just not a movie I ever need to see again. I've seen enough Winston Churchill portrayals over the years that Darkest Hour, I was not enjoying going back to that one. I can respect Gary Oldman's a world class actor and he's made many films that I love. Darkest Hour is just not my favorite. Okay, on the flip side though, there are some movies that I really enjoyed that I'm not going to be giving any mention to once we get to the nominations, but I do want to shout them out, and I want to turn it over to you. If you have any that you want to shout out that you won't get a chance to kind of nominate later on down the road. I loved going back to Logan. It's one of my favorite superhero movies recently. I think Hugh Jackman is just pitch perfect in that film. My only gripe, I guess, with Logan now after the fact is Deadpool and Wolverine kind of undid all the important plot points of that film. And so it kind of takes like some of the stakes away from Logan after we've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, but I do still enjoy going back to that film. I also love, it's a movie when I first saw Bong Joon-ho's Okja, that movie did not connect with me the first time, and every time I go back to it, I find more that I like in it, and that's a movie that has just continually moved up my rank of Bong Joon-ho films. And then the first time watch that was my highest rated first time watch of this prep year was a French film called Custody, and it was basically about a custody battle between a husband and a wife. And I found that movie to be really good. So if you want kind of like an underrated gem that you probably never heard of, check out the film Custody from 2017. Really good performances there. Klarissa, what about you though? Is there anything you're not going to get a chance to talk about later on down the road that you just wanted to say, like, had a good time with this?
Yeah. I definitely have one. There were a lot more that weren't really even like mentioned that I wanted to get back to. Um, but I really loved the Mary Shelley biopic with Elle Fanning. I'm currently in a Frankenstein class, so we're watching 12 adaptations of Frankenstein and reading the book. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like perfect excuse to dive into some Mary Shelley. Hello. And I also believe Percy is a weenie and always will be a weenie, and was a weenie. And so I was like, yes, he was in this movie. He was a weenie. I understand. I respect it, and they do have a better relationship. Anyway, I feel like I understand her more. So it was fun to be able to like throw that one in there, even though it literally like was not mentioned or talked about at all in this like Academy year, and that's fine. Like sometimes it's nice to just have a movie that's just there to be a movie, and it was really good. So that was one I really loved. And I don't know if we'll even like get to it, but I also really love Logan Lucky. I love Logan
Yes.
Lucky. That movie is so funny. I will like just giggle thinking about that movie at any time. So that's just like a fun honorable mention. And then the last one I think I'll shout out is The Upside. The Upside is a really sweet story. And I really love the cast, but again, no nominations for the year. So gonna shout that one out. Definitely fun. It's a good watch, very heartwarming. So yeah, good movies.
I love the Elle Fanning shout out because obviously in 2026, she's had sentimental value last year, and I just
Yeah.
revisited that movie for a second time, and I found even more in what she does in that performance. She's brilliant in that movie. Elle Fanning has definitely like her star is shining right now. She was in the new
Oh yeah.
Predator film, which she was great in. Yeah, just awesome stuff.
Mhm.
Saleah, what about you? Any films that you're not going to get to talk about later on that you just want to talk about right now while you got a chance?
Yeah, absolutely. There were a few, and I think we were joking right before this, where it was like I feel like I was making cuts for like nominations up until then. So I was like, some of the movies that I won't be talking about, I was like, I'll at least mention. But there were a few. I mean, I think I agree with Logan. Luckily, that was actually one that I also was going to say. Like there were some performances there that I was like, actually, really like. Some of them were so funny, and I feel like a lot of comedy performances still don't get like super recognized in a lot of the like Oscar conversations, and I was almost like there were a couple that I like almost put in, and I was like it just barely made the cut. But that I just think it's so funny and so underrated. Like everyone's so great in it.
Oh yeah.
Another movie I also really that year is I really loved Thoroughbreds with Olivia Cook and Anya Taylor Joy. I just thought I thought they were both so good in it, and I just loved how it's obviously like this very like dark, twisted like coming of age movie, but I mean I love I love things like that, but I just think in particular like they're both so good in it. And Olivia Cook has, I mean, both of them have become two of my favorite actresses today. So it's really interesting kind of seeing them in like this early role together, and now seeing how they've kind of blown up together. And then another movie is A Ghost Story, which I just really love. It was like a different vibe from the last two movies I mentioned, but I just really love that one. I think Rooney Mara's performance is really great in it. But that was a movie that I just like really loved that year. That I think it's a little bit of like this quieter, kind of ghost horror story, but it's so they're just I think it explores so many of these themes of like grief in such a quiet way, but which is also just such a great movie. One of my favorites that year, but I just again it was such a stacked year that it's kind of tough to put everything and rank everything. So
Yeah.
We've just named like 10 different movies, and
I know
I want to talk about all of them, but we have like 30 other movies. Like there's so many this year. Yeah, just crazy year.
Mm-hmm.
I love Thoroughbreds. I love A Ghost Story. Great picks there. Thoroughbreds, to your point, Olivia Cook is just like she's unreal in The House of the Dragon, that first season, and then Anya Taylor Joy has just been just a shining star ever since Queen's Gambit, all the way up through Furiosa, and everything she's doing just ridiculously good. Okay, before we get into the big categories, let's get to the Gorham Award for egregious oversight, which is again a spot for us any other category that's out there that's not in play of the big six, if we find something that we think should have won versus what actually won, we can nominate it, and then we'll turn it over to the power of the vote on social media. I have a Gorham Award that I'll start with, and I'll turn it over to the two of you just to see if you have something, and if you do, we'll go from there. So I am going to take aim at the best adapted screenplay. And the actual winner that year was Call Me By Your Name, which I think is a very, very good film. I do find it challenging to go back to, primarily for the Army Hammer of it all and everything that surrounds sort of his personal life. It's a little tough to go back to that movie. And I don't know, there are just some things. Luca Guadagnino's career has been interesting to follow, and I find that movie a little more challenging now than I did in 2017. And so I'm going to say that I think the movie that should have been the best adapted screenplay was Blade Runner 2049. And the reason I say that is because Blade Runner in 1982 is such a perfect text of science fiction. And the idea, I remember when they said they were going to make this movie, I was like, how dare you? Blade Runner is one of my favorite films of all time. Do not touch this source material. It is perfect. And Denis Villeneuve and the team around Blade Runner 2049 crafted something so original and so incredible that expanded on the lore of that universe that I could not conceive of them creating something as great as they did. And so I want to recognize Blade Runner 2049, which tanked miserably in the year it came out. It has had a resurgence over the last better part of 10 years, and I feel like it's really coming into its own, kind of like the original Blade Runner, which has become a cult classic. And so I'm going to say Blade Runner 2049 should have won adapted screenplay. So that's going to be my choice. Saleah, I will turn it over to you now if you have anything that you would like to give your Gorham Award to.
Yeah, it's funny because I did look at the categories before, and I feel like for the most part I agree with a lot of like the categories aside from the main ones, but the one, and this was actually really tough for me. Like I didn't do it just to be like, oh, I want to do Gorham. Like I really thought about it, but I will say for best original score, which I knew went to The Shape of Water this year, and I love The Shape of Water score so much that this was actually tough for me. But that year, I just really love the Phantom Thread score. That's the one score that I listen to like all the time. It's like on my like when I'm like working. And again, it's tough because I loved both those movies. I loved the score, but there's just something about the Phantom Thread score I like absolutely love. That might be one of my favorite like Johnny Greenwood scores that I think that it's a close one though, but I think I would have given the Oscar to that one just because I just love it so much.
That's awesome. I love that pick there. I'm a Johnny Greenwood fan. I'm a Radiohead fan. So yeah, I vibe with all of his stuff. I love the Master score, but I think Phantom Thread is so like understated and it's definitely been underrated in his career filmography for sure. Okay, Klarissa, it's over to you now. If you have a Gorham Award that you would like to nominate.
Yes. I have a lot of. I might actually chat about this movie quite a bit. But I do really love Coco. I love Coco, but I'm actually going to go ahead and talk about animated feature. Loving Vincent was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Like, I don't know why that movie just didn't really do as well as it clearly sought out to do. But I was like, it's clearly, I mean, you could pause that movie on any frame and it actually just 100% meticulously looks like a work of art that would be in a museum. It's not, there's no cheap, like, escape because you're transitioning scenes. Like, no, every single frame looks so intentional. And I think there's so much to go to the story of Coco, you know, that is just so tender and loving. And I mean, I cry every time I watch Coco, but I just have to say, from the pure ambition and beauty of Loving Vincent, I'm really shocked. I'm really shocked. So yeah, I love that movie.
It's hard to argue with that because, you know, like Coco looks like a Pixar film. And Loving Vincent looks like nothing else that I can think of in animation. So from like a pure technical animation standpoint, Loving Vincent is a great shout there.
Oh yeah,
all right,
crazy.
So we got 3 Gorham Awards that people will be able to vote on. So adapted screenplay, Call Me By Your Name and Blade Runner 2049 going head to head. Original score, Shape of Water and Phantom Thread going head to head. Animated feature, Coco and Loving Vincent going to head to head. Those should be some fun ones right there. All right, before we do get over to the categories, though, I do want to remind everybody, if Klarissa, Saleah, and I all agree in a category with what actually won an Oscar, we're going to skip the online process. It gets automatic entry into the Almanac. What we're going to do is we're going to list off what was nominated in each category. We are then going to wipe that slate clean. We're each going to give our own nominations, our own winner picks. And with that out of the way, are you two ready to get into the categories?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Up first, we've got the Best Supporting Actress category. So the actual nominees in 2017 were Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water, and the Oscar that year, of course, went to Allison Janney for her wonderful performance in I, Tonya. I also want to mention Mary J. Blige was also nominated for Original Song that year, and she became the very first person to be nominated for acting and songwriting in the same year, which is crazy. All right, now Klarissa, you are an experienced guest of the show, so I feel confident that I can turn it over to you. You can start us off and you can set the right tone here. So why don't you give us any honorable mentions you have first, if you got anybody out there first, and then jump into your 5 nominees and your winner.
Okay. First off, I have to, honorable mention, I really love Carey Mulligan in Mudbound. I just feel like she is so brilliant. And I mean, of course, we have a brilliant role from Mudbound also nominated here. That was just, I mean, amazing. But I also really loved Carey Mulligan. And I was like, that was one part of that movie where I just was like, wow, she is a patient woman. And, you know, really, it's just, for such a male-dominated story, we have some really amazing female stories in that movie. So I feel like you can't go wrong with the performances from these women in Mudbound. So I'm just going to shout her out. But I have my 5. I'm getting, you guys, this year was just so good. I mean, like, really, I feel like I just wanted to nominate them all. So I'm just going to list off my nominees and then my winner. Yeah, okay. I am nominating Ana de Armas, actually, for Blade Runner 2049. I just loved her so much. She brought so much to that story. I love that there was a diversity in whatever people wanted her to be, but we saw, you know, so she had like little opportunities to play something else in the movie, but we mostly saw her as what we were needing to see her as her role in this movie. So I just loved her. I also nominated Octavia Spencer, Shape of Water. I love her, period, across the board. Genius. I did also nominate Allison Janney. She is so good. And I do have to say, she has the literal exact parrot that I have in this movie. So that like part when she's doing the interviews and it's nipping on her stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just so understand that. But I just have to give that a silly shout out. But her performance is amazing. So she's also one of my nominees. I am nominating Lily James from Baby Driver. Not from Darkest Hour, from Baby Driver. I do love her in Darkest Hour as well, but gosh, her performance in Baby Driver is way too fun to me, and I feel like she just does not get enough credit. I mean, she really is like such a rock in that movie, and that movie just didn't get enough credit in my mind. I love that movie, so I'm gonna do a little Baby Driver shout out, and then I am also nominating Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. And she actually gets my win. I am going to give it to her. She is so brilliant. I mean, the intricate like details of a mother-daughter relationship, especially a coming-of-age daughter with a mother and mother who's trying to understand and be patient. You know, there's just so much to her role. And she is just brilliant. She is just so good. And you feel for her, but you're frustrated with her left and right. I mean, how can you be rooting for someone and frustrated with them all at the same time, you know? And she encapsulates a lot of what I think moms, especially around this age and around this time, were really feeling of like, I got to get to work and I'm trying really hard for you, you know? And you can also kind of tell, even without having any backstory or hint to it, that she has her own kind of generational, like not even trauma per se, but just generational mannerisms, way of thinking. And she's trying to mend that for Lady Bird. So I think that she was just brilliant. I loved her so much, even though her character really made me mad a couple times. So But that's the point, right? It's a good performance. So yeah, she takes the cake for me.
All right. Laurie Metcalf's on the board for Klarissa in Lady Bird. We will go over to Saleah now. Saleah, got any honorable mentions, and then jump into your nominees.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think I agree with Clarissa that there's just so many just really great performances that year, and I think we're probably going to be saying this for like every category, I'm sure. But just thinking about some of the, and this is actually the one category where I think I barely made any changes, just because I actually did, for the most part, really love and agreed with a lot of the supporting actress nominations this year. I think the one that well, I'll say one honorable mention I had was actually I was thinking to Wind River, which I actually think about Elizabeth Olsen. I really liked her in that movie, and I also really like Jeremy Renner in that movie. But I just like, it's funny because I'm not like, it's thinking to how they're so big in the Marvel movies now. I think that's kind of, you know, it's interesting thinking about this movie because you know, I'm not even like the biggest Jeremy Renner fan, but I think that both of them were really great in this movie. So I think Elizabeth Olsen is someone that I really liked her performance in this movie. So that's like one honorable mention that I have. But finally getting to my like nominations this year, the one new one that I actually added was Rachel McAdams from Disobedience. I feel like the performances in that movie kind of fell under the radar that year. But I mean, both Rachels are really great in it, but Rachel McAdams is one that I nominate for that year. And then the other nominations are actually ones that were nominated that year, but I can talk to some of them. I also nominated Octavia Spencer in Shape of Water. I just think that she's so great in it. She really is just kind of the heart of that movie. She's just incredible. Leslie Manfield in Phantom Thread. Obviously, I love Phantom Thread, but I think that she's really great in it as well. Just like as the sister, like she just has so many great moments where she has some like pretty funny moments in it, but she also just like seeing her kind of like evolve throughout the movie as being like this kind of intense sister who kind of starts backing off a little bit. Where it's just like interesting seeing the dynamics of like how all these characters work together. And I think everybody, especially her, I think in this supporting role is so great. Also nominate Allison Janney, who I know ended up winning that year, but I just think she's so great in I, Tonya that I felt like she should be nominated, and I nominate her too. But then also my last nomination, who's also the winner, so Clarissa and I agree in this one, is Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. Actually, I just loved her in it, and I agree. I feel like she kind of plays this character where, you know, especially her and Saoirse, I think play the mother-daughter dynamic so well, that I just loved that performance, and I think Laurie Metcalf is great. So that's who my winner that year is Laurie Metcalf also in Lady Bird.
All right, two for two. You two are mind melding already. Okay, well, Laurie Metcalf, she's on the board twice. Let's go over to me now, and we'll see where we stand at the end of this. So honorable mentions. This category was so deep. I was so happy with this category. Supporting actress was loaded. I have too many honorable mentions to possibly throw out here, but I will say Allison Williams and Catherine Keener in Get Out are both phenomenal in that film. The turn from Allison in that movie when you think you know what she's doing the whole time, and then when you like, she perfects that. And Catherine Keener's such a great comedic actor and can also dip into drama so easily, so she was perfectly cast there. And then I also love Octavia Spencer in The Shape of Water, but she was just outside of my five. But I think she's phenomenal in that movie. The five women, though, that I have chosen in this category. First up, I have Holly Hunter, who plays Beth in The Big Sick. I love The Big Sick, and I love Holly Hunter and Ray Romano's characters and their relationship and everything that they go through. And I just think that they have a great relationship in that film. Kumail does really well with the two of them as well. And I love Holly Hunter in The Big Sick. So she's getting my first nomination. Second one is going to go to Bria Venite, and she plays Hallie in The Florida Project. So she plays the mother of the young girl in The Florida Project. I have her in a supporting actress. Some people might think she's a lead actress, which totally makes sense. But that's another one of those classic Sean Baker. He finds somebody who's not a prototypical actor and he puts them into his movie, and she feels so real. She feels so authentic. There's just a believability to that person being a real person. And I can sympathize with her journey of financial struggle and just trying to survive and make do for her kid and do whatever she can. So I thought that she was phenomenal. Third nominee is Allison Janney in I, Tonya. She's brilliant. It's hard to argue too much with her Oscar win. She's great. We all have her in our 5 nominees, so she's obviously a powerhouse in that film. It's capital A acting, but it's brilliant capital A acting. She's doing a lot. It's very showy, but it's great. Fourth nominee, Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. What more can I say than the two of you already have? She's a flawed mother, and yet that's what makes her so great in that film, is she's got so much complexity and you sympathize with her. And like Klarissa, to your point, you can get frustrated at her because we've all been teenagers and had those relationships with our own parents. And I am now finding myself in the role as parent of having those relationships with my children. And so like I can see both sides of what she's going through. She's phenomenal. Fifth nominee is going to be Leslie Manville as Cyril in Phantom Thread. Saleah, I totally agree with you. I think she's great in what she's doing with Vicky Krieps, and she's great with what she's doing with Daniel Day-Lewis in that film, and she's sort of trying to like investigate the relationship that's happening there. She's phenomenal there. As far as the win, though, this is going to be my year of subtle acting performances that I think deserved wins, because I think there are a lot of big showy wins this year, and I'm okay with a showy acting performance, but I also like a subtle, quiet performance. And because of that, as great as Allison Janney is, Laurie Metcalf's going to get my win, just like the two of you.
What?
She is so good. She is unbelievable. And I mean, I'm a child of Roseanne. Like, that was my generation growing up on Roseanne. So I remember Laurie Metcalf from that show more than anything. And she's great as Jackie on that show. But like, she has so many layers to her character in Lady Bird. You two are spot on. I agree with you completely. So we are all three together on the Laurie Metcalf train. She's brilliant.
Oh my gosh.
I was never in doubt. I always felt she was going to get my win. She was so good.
She's so good. Oh my gosh. Wow, you guys. That's amazing.
Yay.
I don't know if that's going to continue. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to all agree all the way through, but that's a fun way.
Yeah.
All right. So when we get to a vote, there will just be 2 people that you can choose from in this category. You can side with the Academy. You can go with Allison Janney, who won for I, Tonya, or you can side with Klarissa, Saleah, and myself. Laurie Metcalf and Lady Bird is going to get the vote for all 3 of us. I don't think that there's a wrong option there. Whether you like Janney or you like Metcalf, I think both are brilliant actresses. They both had a great year, great performances. Anybody that wins deserves there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's get over to the supporting actor side now. So in 2017, here were the gentlemen nominated for this category. Christopher Plummer for the film All the Money in the World, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the winner was Sam Rockwell, also in 3 Billboards. It's also worth noting Christopher Plummer became the oldest ever performer for a competitive Oscar. He was 88 years of age at the time that he was in All the Money in the World. For also people who don't remember, he was a late addition to that film. Originally, Kevin Spacey was supposed to be in that role, and they had to pull him last minute, and Christopher Plummer popped in, gave a performance, got Oscar nominated, so that's out there as well. Okay, so Saleah, I'm going to have you start us off in this category. Honorable mentions, jump into your nominees, and let's see who your winner is.
Yeah, no, there again, I think it's another category where there were just so many great supporting actors. I think I may have mentioned it earlier, but there were some Logan Lucky performances that I just really love in terms of like honorable mentions. I think almost everybody, but specifically thinking to, I mean, what I really loved Adam Driver in that movie, I also loved Channing Tatum. But Daniel Craig, I think, is so funny in that movie, and is almost like, I just like think about how I feel like so many people are maybe used to more of these like serious roles, or like James Bond, obviously, but like I love his comedic acting. I mean, especially now, I think we have the Knives Out movie, and I feel like his performance in Logan Lucky, I feel like is almost like kind of like almost like parallel, like they're kind of related in a way that you have this like silly character, and so I personally would like those were like a lot of the performances in Logan Lucky, I think, are honorable mentions for me because, again, I feel like there are just so many great comedic performances in that movie, and I still feel like a lot of times, sometimes these like comedic performances sometimes tend to not be in the conversation as much in the Oscars, and so definitely want to shout out, pretty much all the actors in that movie for us honorable mentions, but specifically Daniel Craig I just think is hilarious, and I love how that was kind of almost like an intro to kind of like, you know, what he can do in terms of like now he has the Knives Out movies where he gets to kind of be silly and funny. So those are my honorable mentions, but kind of getting to my picks for this year, or my nominations. And so I'll just kind of go through it. But one is actually, was thinking about Barry Keoghan in The Killing of Sacred Deer, which is a very disturbing movie. But I love Yorgos Lanthimos. I love all those movies. Barry Keoghan is also another actor who's had a very interesting like career trajectory. I know he's kind of been known to be playing these like really crazy creepy roles, but I feel like this was one of the first ones that he played. But he's also so good in it in terms of like he really makes you feel uncomfortable that I just think he's so great in it. Like I would never hang out with this character. I don't think anyone should, but he's just so good at making you feel uncomfortable, but he does also have some like very dark, funny moments in it as well. So I would nominate him. Another nomination, which was nominated this year, is Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project. I think he's just so great in it. Again, I think he is kind of like the heart of this movie, and essentially like every single scene that he is in, even though he's not in like, you know, he's not in like every single scene, he's not in it, but I mean that's the, you know, he's a supporting actor, but I feel like in every single role that he's in, I just really love him. I mean, it's Willem Dafoe, it's kind of hard not to love him. I feel like he could be in a scene for like a few seconds and I'd be like, I'm nominating him for like, best actor, best supporting actor. But in this movie, I think, you know, he's really great. I think some of his moments, I think, are some of my favorite moments in the movie. So I nominate him in Florida Project. Another nomination is actually, I know we were talking a lot about how like Allison Janney was incredible in I, Tonya, but I actually nominated Sebastian Stan in I, Tonya, because I thought he was just so great in it. I am like a huge Sebastian Stan fan overall, but this is actually probably one of my favorite performances of his. Like I know he's, you know, done a lot in the Marvel movies again, like another actor who's really been big in kind of the Marvel movies, but I love that he has, when he does kind of these like in smaller like kind of indie roles, where he kind of just gets like, I feel like I was thinking back to how I really loved A Different Man when that came out a few years ago, and I think before that movie came out, this was his performance at I, Tonya might have been my favorite until A Different Man came out, and I just thought he was really great. So that I nominate him. And another actor that I nominate is Gil Birmingham in Wind River, which I think is also a really great performance. I know I was talking a little bit about Wind River and how I just really liked all the performances in, but I feel like that's one performance too that I feel like just in the conversation in that movie just you know, kind of went under the radar in it, but I think he's fantastic in it. And then the last one that I actually nominate, it's like a little silly, but I just thought he's so funny in it. But I actually picked Hugh Grant in Paddington 2, which I know that there was some like thing with like, I think it came out in like 2018, but I think technically it came out in 2017, but I'm going to count that one and hopefully that counts, but I just think
it counts.
I think he's hilarious in it. Again, I really love like when these actors who are known for doing more like, I know he does a lot of like rom-coms, but I think that I just love when actors are being silly and funny. And I just love him in this. I think he plays the kind of perfect silly villain. So I actually nominate Hugh Grant in Paddington 2. But for who I choose as my winner in this category, it's actually Sebastian Stan in I, Tonya. I think that,
nice.
yeah, I think he, I kind of like said before, I feel like that performance kind of like went under the radar that year. I think, again, so many great performances. Obviously, Allison Janney was so great in it, but yeah, I just think, you know, Sebastian Stan was just so great. And again, like I said, I think before A Different Man came out, that's my favorite performance of his. So yeah, Sebastian Stan gets my pick for that year.
All right, now
so much.
That is totally. I did not expect that pick at all, but I love it in the best possible way. And you gave a great reason because I'm a huge A Different Man fan as well. That movie was so good recently, and even like The Apprentice. I know it's a controversial movie, but he was really good in The Apprentice, and he's just been, Sebastian Stan has just been killing it. Now, Saleah, you did not have Sam Rockwell in your 5. Are you not particularly a fan of that performance, or was he close?
So I do actually like Sam Rockwell. It's funny. I just realized like this probably could have been one of my hot takes early on, but I just like, I'm not the biggest Three Billboards fan.
Mm.
Just like as a movie, I didn't love it. I do like the performances in it, but just like as a movie, it just like was not one of my favorite movies that year. So I think for me, I just wanted to kind of bring attention to some maybe other performances that I liked more that year. So yeah, which is sad for me because like I do actually really love Sam Rockwell, but yeah, that was probably kind of going back to one of my hot takes is that I'm not the biggest Three Billboards fan, so I probably won't be talking about that movie as much during my nominations.
All
Well, I
right. Well,
love your win. Like that's
yes.
such a fun mix up. Like you you had me on the edge of my seat and then you went kapow. Like such a fun win. That's so awesome.
All right. Sebastian Stan is on the board first. I'll go next, and then Klarissa, you're going to finish us off for this category. So, okay. I'm going to agree with Saleah to begin with on I don't have Sam Rockwell in my 5. I also I I love Martin McDonagh most of the time in Bruges, Banshees of Inisherin. I don't know what it is about Three Billboards. I just don't care for that movie. It feels too cliche, and all the characters feel just too caricature like for my taste personally. I don't know. I can respect all the performances. I'm a huge Rockwell fan, McDormand fan, all of them. I'm not going to be giving Three Billboards any love either. So I'll throw that out there. As far as honorable mentions, huge list of names. I love Jake Gyllenhaal in the film Okja, which I've already mentioned once before. Just Jake Gyllenhaal is comfortable being weird and being goofy and being strange, and he's very strange in Okja, and it's really fun. And then, just like Saleah, Daniel Craig and Logan Lucky just kills that movie. He steals the show, and I'd never really thought about the fact that that's almost like a warm up for him for Knives Out. That's such a great comparison because it's like he's starting to like kind of flex those muscles for what he can do in that space, and he's perfect in the comedic space. And gosh, he's good in Logan Lucky. Logan Lucky I always tell people if you like Ocean's 11, it's the Soderbergh movie just like Ocean's 11. It's the same kind of structure, it's just in a different world. But if you like Ocean's 11, check out Logan Lucky because it's that really fun ensemble piece, a bunch of guys doing a heist kind of thing. It's a good time. Okay, as far as the 5 gentlemen though that I actually have in my nominations, up first I have Will Poulter in the film Detroit. Okay. It's one of the most despicable characters I've seen in film in a long, long time. And it takes a really good actor to pull that off and not go too far over the edge. I don't know. I feel like Will Poulter really nails you wanting to hate that character and also respecting the acting talent that's inside of what he's doing there. And so I think Will Poulter deserves to be nominated. I also want to say, has there ever been in recent memory a better glow up than Will Poulter from where he was in We're the Millers to like how attractive that man is now? Like
he's a Hemsworth. Crazy.
Like when you see him in The Bear, I'm like, where did this man come from? Because he has really blown up. So okay, Will Poulter is going to get a nomination for playing one of the worst characters in film, especially in that year. I'm also going to nominate Willem Dafoe as Bobby in The Florida Project. Saleah, I agree with you. I think he's the heart and soul of that film. He's definitely what keeps me going back to The Florida Project. My third nomination is going to be the man who started his creepy character era that year, Barry Keoghan in The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I love Barry Keoghan. Even if I had to side with Sabrina in the breakup there, I'm definitely on the Sabrina side. Keoghan is so creepy in Killing of a Sacred Deer, and he understands the idiosyncrasies of the Yorgos world really well, and he knows how to make that dialogue pop, and he also really knows how to terrify you as we get to the end of that film. So I think he's brilliant in there. Fourth nominee is going to go to Timothée Chalamet as Kyle in Lady Bird. He's such a pretentious ass in that whole movie, and he's full of shit. Like that's the beautiful part is like, like he comes off a certain way, and then once their relationship develops, you find out like this guy's just a real sleazeball. And Chalamet, I think, nails that performance just to such a great degree, and I think he's really good in that film. And then my fifth nominee is going to be kind of the wild card out there, but I have to respect. I've given him a nomination before for Pan's Labyrinth. Doug Jones, who plays the amphibian man in The Shape of Water. I just don't think that he's ever gotten the respect he deserves for his career. He's always hiding under all these prosthetics, but those films don't work without Doug Jones sort of creating that physical movement. And I think he's wonderful alongside Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water. So he's going to be my 5th nominee. But continuing my trend of subtle performances that I think deserve wins this year, Willem Dafoe goes against type. Like, there's nothing in the Florida Project that's like anything else in Willem Dafoe's career. He's always playing this guy that's very over the top or very villainous or something. And in the Florida Project, he's so subdued. He's so normal. He's so human. He just wants to like make everything run, and he wants to keep everyone happy at the project. And I feel for his character so much, and he's brilliant in that film. I remember in 2017 when he got nominated, and I was rooting for him at the time because I thought it was such a great opportunity for him to get his win. And I think now is the time that I want to try to hopefully get him that win. So I'm going to say Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project, is my best supporting actor in 2017. All right. Klarissa, you're going to finish off the category for us.
Love it. You know, really quick, sadly, Florida Project is that one movie that I didn't get to.
Oh,
I know.
Well, you're going to love it when you do.
Okay, yeah. It was like, it was literally right at the top of that list. And I was like, crap, I don't have time. But know that it is in my heart and soul to watch that movie. But especially hearing you guys rave so much about his performance, I do love him. I love him in every single thing I've ever seen him in, honestly. So I definitely will have to give that a watch. But I love that he takes the cake for your win. How fun. Wow, what a tricky category for me. This is the first time in a podcast, I think actually ever, even in drafts, that I've brought a pencil and paper because I knew I would just be scribbling out last minute because I have so many feelings. And so right before we started, my supporting actor especially has the most scribbles of anything because I have so many feelings about all of these fantastic performers. So first nominee, I actually also had Sebastian Stan for I, Tonya. I love him
That's awesome.
so much. He is, again, kind of going back to what I was saying with Denzel Washington. He's like the unreliable narrator where he has the charm, but you also just hate him, you know? And it's satisfying to hear him say at the end, yeah, like I definitely ruined her career, you know? And he's just so good. He's so good at being older in those interviews and ruminating on what happened and playing this young guy who's violent. I mean, he's so good. So he's got a nomination for me. Oh, crap. I actually should do my honorable mentions first. Oh, you guys have 4. I have 4 honorable mentions. So I'm just going to rewind really quick. Back to my honorable mentions. Psych. First off, I also have Daniel Craig. Honorable mention. He's an honorable mention. I love him so much in Logan Lucky. He is hilarious. I also kind of out there. I know that a lot of people had problems with this movie, but in 2017, Klarissa in her mind was going to Broadway. And so I'm shouting out Dan Stevens in Beauty and the Beast. I actually feel like he's such an emotional beast. I really love what he brought to the performance. You guys can come for me for that. A lot of people like really hated that movie. I think he's great. I also have loved him since Downton Abbey. So I'm like, full heart for Dan Stevens. I love him so. I am shouting him out. I really love the depth he brought to that character. He's not getting a nomination, but he's fun. So, and then my last honorable mention, not nomination, is Christopher Plummer. I do love everything that he did in the role. Oh, what a weenie. He's such a weenie. And it's so good at being a weenie, which I love. But he's not nominated. So, okay, fast forward again. We're nominating who? Sebastian Stan. What? I'm blowing my own mind. Yeah, so we're nominating Sebastian Stan. So great. My second nomination is Jake Gyllenhaal in Okja. I actually loved him in this role. He's wildly unpredictable, performative. And, you know, I'm never not surprised by Jake Gyllenhaal, which I love. I love that he always has something that I'm like, what are you going to do? I don't know. That's crazy. So this was another one of those movies, especially when he's, you know, he gets to Okja at the top of the mountain at first and he's, you know, being emotional and trying to be intuitive with this animal. And he's like, I can't fake this stuff. Pull up the cameras. You know, it's so good. So really loved him in that. And then I am actually nominating Dave Franco for Disaster Artist. I love him in this movie. I love him so much in this movie. I think he has such a great, I don't know, like depth to this character that really this guy had kind of a bummer situation, and he made the best of it and had a really weird, interesting experience. And I really like the way that Dave Franco played that. So I'm actually nominating him. Um, and then I am nominating both Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson for Three Billboards. This movie actually, I did not know what to expect at all. Part of me, for some reason, and maybe it's just because most of the Sam Rockwell movies I've seen are very like hopeful and silly. So I actually saw he was a part of it and was like, oh, this is going to be like a fun little story. No. Oh my gosh. So going in blind was probably the best decision I've ever made, because I like live chat type notes while I watch a movie, and so I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" question mark, and then be like, "Sam Rockwell is such a good cop." Wait, what? Why did I even say that? I look at my notes at the beginning of this movie. He's terrible. Anyway, I just love that I did not know what was coming at all, ever. And so that was really fun for me. I liked that I had all the twists and turns and that I was consistently surprised. Woody Harrelson, wow, his storyline really surprised me. Did not see that coming. And I love being surprised. So I was like, okay, I love them both, and really just stunning performances from both of them. But I am actually giving my win to Sam Rockwell. I am agreeing with this one. Like I said, Sam Rockwell, most of the time, in my experience, has been this kind of happy-go-lucky, super comedic, silly character in most things that I've experienced him in. And so to have him be this terrible person, just terrible, and then kind of surprise me at the end, I really liked it. I liked that we had so much development with him, but he also did a really good job. Like, it wasn't like he was handed a really good script and that's why he did a good job to me. It was like, you were handed a good script, but you took it the extra mile, and I really believed that from you. So I am going to give him my win.
So opposite of supporting actress, where we all aligned, we have all diverged into different paths on this one for sure. All right. Okay. Plenty of good options for you when we get to the vote. Man, I loved Dave Franco, by the way. I just love Dave Franco in general. He and Allison Brie are such a great couple. And like their press tour on Together was just top notch. I don't know if you saw any of their, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everything those two. Yeah, they're so much fun together. Okay, so when we get to the vote, 3 options. You can side with the Academy and Klarissa. They both have Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. You can side with me. I've got Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project. And then Saleah has Sebastian Stan and I, Tonya. What a cool, off-the-board, unexpected pick on that one for sure. Okay, let's get over to Best Actress now. So in 2017, the actresses that were actually nominated were Margot Robbie and I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, Meryl Streep in The Post, Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water, and the Oscar went to Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards. This was her second of 3 career wins in the Best Actress category. It's going to be over to me to start things off, and then I will go over to the two of you. As far as honorable mentions, again, another really strong field here. I was very, very happy with the amount of opportunities that women had in 2017, especially I'm coming off of 1987, which was not a great year. I've spent time in past decades where the women just don't get these opportunities. And I'm in this wonderful pocket. I've got 2017 right now. Next month, I got 2012. Then I got 2019. So I'm living it really good where women are having great opportunities. So many good ones here. As far as honorable mentions, Matilda Lutz in the film Revenge. I don't know if you've seen Revenge. It's by Coralie Farjah, who made The Substance most recently a couple of years ago. This film Revenge is really tough. It's about a woman who gets assaulted and then basically takes her revenge on the men who have assaulted her. She's phenomenal in that film. Check out the film Revenge if you like The Substance. I also want to shout out Daniela Vega in the film A Fantastic Woman, a transgender performance that I think really holds up really well from about 10 years ago. And then I also want to shout out Frances McDormand as Mildred in 3 Billboards. I think Frances McDormand is a queen, an icon. I just don't think she's not in my 5. I think that there are other Frances McDormand performances I prefer, be it Fargo or even Nomadland, her other Oscar win. As far as the 5 women, though, I've got Margot Robbie as Tanya Harding in I, Tanya. I love Margot Robbie. I think she pulls off Tanya Harding really, really well. Though I do have to agree with, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel that was hosting that year, and he made a joke that Tanya Harding got really lucky to have Margot Robbie be cast as her, because Margot Robbie is a beautiful, beautiful person. And not to say Tanya Harding's an unattractive person, but Margot Robbie's just a beautiful person, and she nails that role. She is phenomenal as Tanya Harding. I also am going to nominate Saoirse Ronan as Christine Lady Bird McPherson in the film Lady Bird. I love Saoirse Ronan. Second time I've nominated her, coming off of 2007 a couple months ago. She's brilliant in that film. Third nominee is going to go to one of my favorite contemporary actresses by a mile, Jennifer Lawrence as the mother in the film Mother. Goes through it in that movie. She also just went through it in 2025 in the film Die My Love, which is one of my favorite performances of last year. And I appreciate that Jennifer Lawrence she is completely unafraid to do anything on screen. She is just a ferocious actor, and I love everything about Jennifer Lawrence. Had to give her a shout. Vicky Krieps is going to get my 4th nomination, who plays Alma in Phantom Thread. She's so good. She is just wonderful playing off of Daniel Day-Lewis in that film. And then my 5th nominee is going to go to Sally Hawkins, who plays Eliza in The Shape of Water. That whole movie hinges on Sally Hawkins, and she's brilliant. She's magnificent. Again, I love Sally Hawkins. She also just had a phenomenal performance in 2025 in the film Bring Her Back that kind of went against type for her, but love Sally Hawkins. This will be the second time, though, that I'm going to be giving this film an award. My attire might give away what I'm going to say. I tried to dress as preppy as I could for my girl, Lady Bird, Saoirse Ronan. Okay. I would totally buy into the fact that Saoirse Ronan is a California girl, because like she strips away all of her real life persona for what she does in the film. She's so believable. We've all been that person, male, female. We've all been in that awkward stage of teenage years. I think Lady Bird's one of the great coming of age films of our lifetime. It holds up so well. It's so funny. It's so interesting. It's complex. It's brilliant. It all hinges on Saoirse Ronan being magnificent. I hope she gets an Oscar very, very soon in her career, because I have this terrible feeling that Saoirse Ronan is going to go a long time and not win an Oscar, unfortunately. And she just keeps cranking out like banger after banger after banger. She's a brilliant actress. She's only getting better. So Lady Bird, Saoirse Ronan, that's going to get my win. All right,
Nice.
Klarissa, let's go over to you now.
Oh my gosh, so good. Love that. Great win. I really kind of only have one honorable mention, and then the rest I just nominated. I just love them so much, so I just threw them in there. But my honorable mention is actually Allison Williams from Get Out. I kind of saw her as a leading lady just because she was with him so much of the movie, and her performance was just so commanding to me. I mean, she's literally the quintessential cornerstone to why he's there, how the family even really fully operates this, because she's the one that drags people out of the city into the woods. Freaky. But also, I love that she is a Russian nesting doll of performances, where she's an actress acting in a movie, but she's also acting in the movie. And she's so good. When she's like, these keys? Oh my gosh, haunting. Wow, like a bad dream forever is her doing that. But she's so good. She's so good. She's so believable. She's so sincere too, which is just crazy. Like, you just, wow, the levels of insane in her character is just mind-blowing, you know. So I'm gonna shout her out as a leading lady. And then my nominations, I am also going to nominate Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird. What a relatable coming of age girl. I think back to so many of the questions. Like, I'm rewatching this, and this came out when I was 18. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had seen this when I was 18, because there is so much of this that just, I feel like, resonates with me. And I'm like, wow, across the board, just so coming of age. You know, you see that in so many of the characters in this story, but she especially just, she's so passionate and out there. And I'm like, wow, we would have really been friends. Like, we would have been friends. So I just love her. I love her in that role. And I agree. She just has, she's never disappointed me, ever. I have always loved her. So I am nominating Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards as well. I do think, again, I agree. Fargo is definitely the performance that comes to mind for me with her. Also, Blood Simple, not talked about enough, but she's so good in that. But I do think that she pulled out an emotional and very resilient and persistent character in this that you kind of have a hard time rooting for, but you're also really rooting for at the same time. You know, it's like, oh, don't burn that down. I'm rooting for you. Like, don't do that. You know, I mean, it's just, so I really like her with that. I am also nominating our girl from Okja. I might say this wrong, and I'm sorry if I do, but Seo Hyung An, who plays Mija. Oh my gosh. For like a young woman, I just felt so much love from her. And when she's running to Okja and shouting for her and doing anything that she absolutely needs to. I mean, going through the slaughterhouse was haunting, but I just, wow, she gave such a good performance. And I loved her. I mean, really, she was kind of one of the biggest parts of that movie I couldn't take my eyes off of. And so I'm nominating her. I think that she's kind of one of the biggest parts of that movie as well that makes it so emotional, is tying it back. And, you know, even Tilda Swinton's character, whose name I forgot, her character's name I forgot, but she is like, oh, just bring her, you know, everyone loves a good story. And it's like, I mean, like, yes, we do, but like, but you know, even them calling that out, I feel like is quintessential to that story. And again, Okja, I personally just don't think it was given enough love in this year. And so for having been so young, I think that her performance is amazing. So I am nominating her. I am also nominating Margot Robbie from I, Tonya. Oh, she's so brilliant. She's so brilliant always. Oh my gosh. I'm such a Margot Robbie girl. Like 100% of the time. A lot of people are upset about like the validity or accuracy of this Wuthering Heights. I don't care. I actually don't care at all because she's in it and I will be there. I will be on the front row. Like, I'm so excited. So I just love her. So I am nominating her. And again, she tells this story so well. Sally Hawkins is my last nomination for Shape of Water. Wow, that like old Hollywood scene when all of a sudden she can sing and she's dancing and she's feeling so emotionally. You just see that raw emotion from her where she like collapses a little on the table and how much she cares and the lengths she'll go to. So I agree, she is the cornerstone of that film. But my win does go to Margot Robbie. I am giving Margot Robbie my win. I, Tonya, just, you see the anger in her, you see where it comes from, you see too much of the story, and I feel like anytime her interview segments were coming back on from older Tonya, I just was completely mesmerized because I was seeing so much cohesion and younger and older, and oh, she's just so good. So I don't think that she gets nearly enough credit, and this movie doesn't really get nearly enough credit, but I think of all these performances, she's the one that I think back to so much. So much. So she's got my win.
I will also be seated in about a week from now at Wuthering Heights. I'm so excited for that. It might be trashy, but it's going to be trashy fun. I am an Emerald Fennell fan for sure. So
love it.
I also, when you threw out Allison Williams in Get Out, I always think of the scene with the cereal because my oldest son, it literally happened today. In the morning, he likes his breakfast with his cereal dry with a cup of milk, and I can't not think of Get Out every time he eats his breakfast.
Oh my gosh. Wow, yeah.
I'm like, am I raising a psychopath? I can't quite tell.
Are you okay? I'm just checking in for no reason. Just thinking about you. Know that we love
you. All
you.
right. So we got Saoirse Ronan and we got Margot Robbie already at the dance. Now it's up to Saleah to see if we add somebody new or if we just add another two who we already have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will go through my honorable mentions. This was one of the categories where it was, I mean, again, I feel like we're saying that every single category has been so tough because it's just, yeah, again, a stacked year. But this was, I think for me, I know Clarissa, you were saying before, I think one of the supporting categories, you just have like so many scribbles. I think for me that this was this category because I kept like switching. It was like a puzzle where I was like, I'm going to take this one out. But I will shout out a few of my honorable mentions from some of the ones who were nominated because I didn't put her as one of my nominations, but I will shout out Frances McDormand because I think, I know Andrew and I are both kind of like, Three Billboards isn't getting a ton of love from us, but I do feel like Frances McDormand, it's just kind of hard not to, like, I feel like she can be in anything and she's just incredible in it, and I think she is very great in this. And so she's definitely one of my honorable mentions. I do also agree that Andrew had Matilda Lutz in Revenge, which I watched after Substance actually, and I loved it. I thought she was phenomenal in that, and that was also actress I wanted to give an honorable mention to. Um, the other one is actually I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I was talking a little bit about how Ghost Story didn't get in my nominations, but I did want to shout out Rooney Mara again, and because I think she was just really great in it. I think she kind of has this like quiet kind of performance and really kind of portrays the grief in that movie, and so that's one actress I just really wanted to give an honorable mention to. But getting to my nominations, I also nominate Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. It's kind of hard not to love her that year. And I will say, I actually did see, I don't want to spoil anything, but I did see Wuthering Heights last night at an early screening, and I think you guys will have fun at it. I actually want to hear what you guys think when you see it next week.
Oh, that's a deal.
I expect our group chat to be sharing our thoughts.
Are you under embargo still right now?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
But I will say I saw it. But I mean, Margot Robbie is she's just incredible. So she gets my nomination for I, Tonya. Also nominating Saoirse Ronan and Lady Bird. I think I agree with what both of you are saying. Like, she's such a relatable character. Like, she kind of plays that like antsy teenager so well, but like at the same time, you also are like rooting for her and you love her, even though it's like we've all been there. We've been 18 teenagers, and kind of like you were saying, Clarissa, I was like, I feel like I related to that character. I would probably get along with her if we like at that age. So she gets my nomination. Also nominating Sally Hawkins. It's kind of hard not to nominate her. Like, she's just so great in The Shape of Water. I know we were talking a little bit about how like obviously Octavia Spencer is the heart of The Shape of Water, but I also feel like Sally Hawkins is too. Like, it's kind of hard not to nominate her for this movie. She was just so incredible in it. I'm also nominating Vicky Krieps in Phantom Thread. That's just such a great, that was, I think, her first performance, right? Or at least one of her first performances, and she's just incredible in it. I know we were talking a little bit like about Leslie Manville. I feel like her and Leslie, her and Daniel Day-Lewis, they just all work together so well in the movie. They just kind of have this perfect dynamic. So I'm giving her a nomination. And my last nomination, I actually am giving to Rachel Weisz in Disobedience. I know I gave Rachel McAdams a Best Supporting Actress nomination, but Rachel Weisz, again, I think is one of those actresses who's just so, so great. But I think both Rachel performances kind of fell under the radar that year, but I think she was just so incredible in this one. So I want to kind of give her flower nominations for this. But my pick is actually also Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird. So that's my the winner in my book. So yeah, I guess Andrew and I are on the same page on that one.
So Saleah, you and I had talked prior, like in one of our private chats at some point. I think we were both like, we're going to be gushing about Lady Bird quite a bit tonight. I think we both anticipated a lot of Lady Bird love. It's a movie that I hold near and dear to me, and I know you hold it pretty near and dear to you too. That's awesome. I also, even though I didn't nominate Frances, I went back and I watched her speech that night. It's one of the great speeches in recent memory too, because this is like right after the Me Too movement, so that's obviously like very much in the air in Hollywood at that particular time. And she puts the Oscar down, and then she has all of the women stand up in the crowd that were nominated for anything in any category, and it's just this really cool like opportunity to celebrate all the women in the film industry at this one point in time. And I appreciate that Frances is like this powerful woman who's also not afraid to like shine her spotlight on everyone else out there. And so it was cool to go back and see that. And I'm like, we need more Frances McDormands in the world because she's fighting the good fight to make sure there's equality, and it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Saoirse Ronan on the board twice, myself and Saleah. Lady Bird. Klarissa has thrown out Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. The Academy's got Frances McDormand in 3 Billboards. Those are 3 heavyweight actresses that are going to go to battle in that one. All I want to do now is ask Saleah questions about Wuthering Heights, but I can't do that, so we will continue on.
Seriously.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so let's jump over to Best Actor now. So the gentlemen in 2017 who were actually nominated were Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, Denzel Washington in Roman J. Israel, Esquire, and the man of the hour was Gary Oldman for his portrayal of Winston Churchill in the film Darkest Hour. It's also worth noting this was Chalamet's very first Oscar nomination, and he was the 3rd youngest person nominated in this category, and he was the youngest since 19-year-old Mickey Rooney, all the way back in 1939 in the film Babes in Arms. So a long time there. Chalamet is obviously now a staple in the Oscar race every single year, but 2017 was the beginning of it all for us. It feels like it's been forever ago. But all right, Klarissa, why don't you start us off with Best Actor this time?
Okay. I have 3 honorable mentions. One of them actually won another category, so kind of silly. Well, for me, I'm actually honorably mentioning Sam Rockwell. For some reason, there was just part of me that actually struggled to pick supporting or lead actor for him because he just was such a big part of that movie. And maybe that was just the way that I watched it and like experienced it, was he just felt so prominent constantly. So I was kind of debating. I did end up going with supporting actor for him, but I did want to shout out, like, I did have that internal debate. Like I thought about him for this just because I just loved his performance so much. So he is my honorable mention. I am honorably mentioning our winner, Gary Oldman. I'm not nominating Gary Oldman. But I love Gary Oldman always and forever. Like, oh gosh, I love him so much. But I do agree with what you were saying earlier a little bit about Darkest Hour. I feel like there are other Gary Oldman performances that I prefer, and I think, I mean, he definitely commands the room in this movie, but it's not really one that stands out as much in the year. And I don't know if it would as much if he hadn't had as much makeup on, like all the prosthetics and things like that. And Winston Churchill, I think sometimes with biopics, you have this pressure of like, that's automatically a big deal because that person's a big deal. And I'm like, no, I think like Gary Oldman is a big deal, you know? So like, I would have liked to win for him for like Dracula or even like Leon the Professional, you know? Yes. So something like that. So he's honorably mentioned for this one for me. And then I'm honorably mentioning Tom Hanks in The Post. I loved his performance in this movie when Meryl Streep comes downstairs and she's like, "Did you run here?" And he's like, "Yes." He's just so good. So I really enjoyed him, but he didn't get a nomination from me. So just an honorable mention for him. I am first off nominating. Who am I doing first? Let's do Daniel Day-Lewis first. I love Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread. It's one of those movies that feels like a thriller and is not.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of a character that holds people emotionally hostage, and he does a really good job at it. And I really admire him. He's always like surprising me. He's so good. I don't know. I think that he really brought his A game with Phantom Thread. And I love my review of this movie on Letterboxd was just, if you want to humble someone, you give them the shits, apparently. I was like, that's literally what I was feeling with this movie. But then Adam from Movie Archer actually gave me a very humble and like more articulate, more appropriate way of explaining like, no, it's just emotional vulnerability. I was like, yes, you're right, that is actually what that is. But Daniel Day-Lewis is so good. So anyway, that was just my kind of silly experience with that. So I'm nominating him. I am also nominating Timothée Chalamet. I love Timothée Chalamet so much. I think that especially in Call Me by Your Name, there's a lot of honesty he brings to the table, and there's a lot of that movie that kind of feels uncomfortable, but it's only uncomfortable to me because it's something that people might not have said out loud. You know what I mean? And so, like, I mean, it's hard to even mention, but like the peach moment, it's like I was not a young boy. I wasn't a teenage boy, you know, or anything like that. But I'm like, I feel like there's just part of me that kind of saw into curiosities and not in like a bad or judgmental way. I just kind of saw what might have been uncomfortable in his experience. And I like that, you know, Armie Hammer's character Oliver just really kind of was there to help comfort him with that. I don't know. I liked the dynamic, but I think that Timothée Chalamet brought a whole other side to that kind of coming of age story. And so I loved his performance. I am also nominating Daniel Kaluuya. Is that how you say that? Kaluuya? Okay. Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, he is petrifying. He is so good. He's so good constantly. And when he goes to the sunken place, it just seeing him sitting in that chair crying, I like physically don't understand that. It's so good. It is probably one of the best performances like I've ever seen. And so I just have to throw him a little love. Um so I definitely am going to nominate him as well. I am throwing another kind of silly nomination out there. But it's probably one of my favorite performances from the year. I love James Franco in Disaster Artist as Tommy Wiseau. He has got a nomination for me. If you watch The Room or anything with Tommy Wiseau, he does so well. He does so well playing him, playing a chaotic Tommy Wiseau. I really admire how committed he was to it. And again, Tommy Wiseau is a very chaotic person, and he really encapsulated that. So that's probably one of my very favorite. No, you know what? That is my favorite James Franco performance. Also, I was laughing the whole time. The whole time. He is so good, and it's almost like I remember I saw this in theaters and was like, I just wanted to watch it again just because it like itched that part of my brain that was like, I know that's James Franco, and I watched him in Freaks and Geeks growing up and Spider-Man, but this is a different James Franco, and I love it so much. I just want to watch it over and over and over again. And so I'm throwing a nomination out for him. And then my last nomination, even though it made me uncomfortable and I didn't love the movie, period, undeniably, Denzel Washington is so good in Roman J. Israel Esquire. And I kind of mentioned that earlier. This was one I kind of was teeter-tottering, and it had the scribbles, but I think like in this moment I have to decide. Yeah, like he did so well. He did too well in that role to like deny that I might not have liked that movie because of the character and you know the way that we were really told that story or seeing that story, but there's a reason. There's a reason it felt chaotic, and I also am a sucker for an unreliable narrator. So, Denzel, this one's for you. So, that is for Denzel. Love him. But my win is actually going to Daniel Kaluuya. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my
Excellent.
gosh! Oh my gosh! I really, I mean, I love all these performances, and what an insane group of performances to be standing next to. But he takes the cake to me. He takes the cake, and seeing him walk away at the end. I mean, really, there is such a massive range and also a huge conversation here that his character is bringing to the table and trying to bring to the table consistently with these other people of color in this house, and he can't, but it's like he's still doing it, and he's doing it in a really graceful, natural way. And I think that it you have to do that in the right way to make that story feel, you know, relatable. Because to me, I'm a white woman. I'm a white girl. And so I'm like, I've never been in this situation where I felt uncomfortable in a group of people because I'm a person of color. But I am seeing and feeling so much of this emotion from his performance where I'm like, wow, that would be awful and that'd be uncomfortable. And I see where you're like reaching for an empathetic experience with someone. And he just did it so well. He just did it so well. So I love that I was able to kind of see into that experience, even though I will never have that experience. You know what I mean? So I felt like he was the person to do that. And so he takes my win. And also that crying is insane. Insane. So yeah, he takes the cake for me.
That's a hell of a 5 and a great pick, Klarissa. Daniel Kaluuya on the board, Get Out. All right, Saleah, let's go over to you now for your best actor.
Sure. Going through some of my honorable mentions. So I'm actually going to honorable mention because he didn't make my nominations, but I will say Denzel Washington was incredible in Roman and Jay's role. I feel like we could probably have the same kind of experience where it's like it was a little bit of a harder movie to watch, but I think his performance is just, it's Denzel Washington. Again, I feel like it's hard to, he can be in any movie and he's just so great. But I definitely want to shout him out. I feel like I'll shout him out in any movie that he's in, but because I didn't give him an official nomination for me, I'm just giving him my honorable mention. Another actor I want to give an honorable mention to this year, for this year is actually James McAvoy in Split. I think he's just so great in it. And again, I think, I know I was talking a little bit about how I feel like some comedic performances don't get a lot of love, but I also think horror is still, I feel like in recent years, we've kind of been seeing that horror has been getting a little bit more appreciated in the Oscar conversation, but I feel like James McAvoy was just incredible in Split. And that's a performance that I think is one of my favorites that year, but I just want to give an honorable mention to. Because he obviously plays so many different like characters in that movie, but he's just so great at it. So just want to shout out that performance. But going to my nominations for this year, I'm also nominating Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. He's just so great. Like, he's just incredible in it. Get Out is just such a great movie. Pretty much agree with everything Klarissa is saying. It's just there's so much in that movie from like beginning to end, and he just he's just so well in it, and he's such a great actor. I feel like everything that I've seen him in since Get Out, I've really loved. So giving him a nomination. Another nomination that I'm giving is actually Robert Pattinson for Good Time that year. I know that was one of his first kind of like indie roles, and I just kind of love how we've seen him be more getting into the more of that indie space post Twilight. I know he has Batman, but I think he was really great in Good Time, and he also had a really great performance in Die My Love earlier this year, which I really loved, and I know he did Lighthouse, so it's been interesting seeing his career trajectory as well. So that's one that I give a nomination to. I'm actually also nominating, and I'm realizing have a lot of kind of like younger actors who've kind of have built out their career so far and like seeing their growth, but I'm actually giving a nomination to Josh O'Connor in God's Own Country, because he's so good in it. And I've been such a big Josh O'Connor fan since that movie and since The Crown, and so I've loved just seeing, like, he was in 3 movies this past year. He's been having a good year, but I think some of this being one of his like kind of first movies I think that I saw that he was in a movie. I think he is so great in it and is an underrated performance. Like, he has so many great performances now that have come out within this last year, but I think I just like really loved him in that movie, so he gets a nomination for me. Another nomination is Timothée Chalamet in Call Me by Your Name. He is just so great in it. It's kind of hard not to love him. I think, I remember watching that movie and just, I feel like, I kind of agree with what Andrew was saying before, is like now when I revisit that movie, it's maybe a little bit of a harder one to watch, but I feel like his performance, like how I feel about his performance, has never changed, because I feel like you really feel that heartbreak that he feels with that kind of like first love, that like pain of like feeling, having a crush and first love, and just that scene at the very end, which I know some people have kind of like it's just like kind of like memed it at this point, but it's still a very emotional scene, and I just think, and that conversation he has with his dad, and there's just so many great subtle moments in that movie, so he gets my nomination. And also nominating Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread. Kind of hard not to, I just love Daniel Day-Lewis and everything, but Phantom Thread is also just one of my favorite movies that year. And Daniel Day-Lewis is actually my pick for that year, so Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, Phantom Thread gets my pick here. That was a hard one for me though, because this was also another category where I felt like there were just so many great performances, so I had a hard time picking. But I had to go with Daniel Day-Lewis at the end of it.
I love that.
Nobody's going to complain with the Daniel Day-Lewis win. That's for sure.
No. Great
All
shout
right.
out with James McAvoy as well.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I don't even know. I didn't even think about that. Oh, he's so good. Yeah, great point. Great shout out.
You've got your pencil there if you need to like scratch anything out.
I wrote him in. I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not think about that? Love it though. I love that you mentioned that.
All right, Kaluuya, Day-Lewis, both on the board. Over to me, and then we'll see where we're at. So this is definitely 2017, and you stole my thunder a little bit, Saleah, but I'm glad we're kind of in the same ballpark with. It feels like a lot of these a lot of the actors that we're seeing now hitting their prime were really coming into their own in 2017. So in terms of my honorable mentions, Timothée Chalamet and Call Me by Your Name didn't get in my 5, but I mean, Chalamet for me should be winning for Marty Supreme. That's a whole other conversation. But Chalamet is just legit. Like I love him. Josh O'Connor, God's Own Country, another honorable mention for me. I'm with you. Josh O'Connor was just like hitting bangers all 2025 as well. He's so good in God's Own Country. And then Harris Dickinson in Beach Rats. I love Harris Dickinson as an actor, and Beach Rats. I saw like I had seen a bunch of other performances from him, and then I went back and saw Beach Rats. And I was like, wow, this like right out of the gate, this guy he knew what he was doing. And then my fourth honorable mention is John Boyega in Detroit. I feel like we're in this weird spot where post Star Wars, Boyega just hasn't had the right opportunities to showcase his greatness, because I think John Boyega is a phenomenal actor. He's a great screen presence, and he's really, really good in Detroit, going up against all of the horrific stuff that's happening to some of those characters in that film. As far as the 5, though, I've got Daniel Kaluuya as Chris in Get Out. You've said it all. He's brilliant. I remember seeing him previously in the second episode of Black Mirror when that came out, and he's in this one particular episode of Black Mirror, and it's a brilliant episode. If you've not seen it, I recommend checking it out. So I remember when I heard he was in Get Out, I was like, oh, okay, I've only seen this guy in one thing, and he absolutely delivered everything in Get Out that he did in the Black Mirror episode. He's brilliant. Number 2, Robert Pattinson as Connie in Good Time. I agree, Saleah, with you on. I know we're living just a couple weeks ago. Good Time got like a whole bunch of slander for some of the stuff that happened on that set with the Safdie brothers. That is completely irrelevant to what's going on with Robert Pattinson in that film. I don't think that detracts from his performance. He's brilliant. He pulls off the New York accent really well. Like you can tell he lived in that world and in that space. And I also love that he and Kristen Stewart have both taken this wonderful trajectory with their career post Twilight, where they made their Twilight money, and now they have both just done whatever in the hell they've wanted to do, and they've carved out these cool paths of like independent film. And so I'm always going to champion Pattinson and Kristen Stewart just doing whatever they want, and I love Pattinson in Good Time. Third nominee, Daniel Day-Lewis. He's the GOAT. What can you say about Daniel Day-Lewis? Fourth nominee, Brady Jandreau in the film The Writer. Chloe Zhao's The Writer. He plays this young man who's like a rodeo rider, and he has a brain injury, and there's a lot of truth to that performance because Chloe Zhao, much like Sean Baker, will pull real life people into the world, and Brady very much has like a real life story that is played out in The Writer to a large degree, and it's a fascinating film, and it's this great performance from a non-actor in an acting performance. So if you've not seen The Writer, I recommend checking it out. And then my fifth nominee is James McAvoy playing Dennis, Patricia, Hedwig, the Beast, Kevin, Barry, Orwell. He's playing everyone in the film Split. Okay, I understand that, I've heard people say that Split's not the greatest film in terms of dealing with mental illness, and maybe M. Night Shyamalan left something to be desired in terms of the way he depicted that on screen. But I also think from a technical acting standpoint, the way that James McAvoy was able to tap into so many different personalities, change his body language, his tone, everything, it's hard to not recognize the acting of James McAvoy in the film Split. So I'm with you on that one as well, Saleah. I was tempted to pick McAvoy, but again, I am in my lowercase a subtle acting performance year, and I'm going to give it to Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread. because I'm again just coming off a couple years ago, a couple months ago, giving There Will Be Blood the win, and There Will Be Blood is a very over the top performance, and it's very boisterous and loud and big, and uh, Phantom Thread is the opposite. He's doing so much work with his gestures and with facial expressions. And Klarissa, to your point, he's so good at manipulating people with a glance or a really biting line. All he has to say is one line of dialogue, and he immediately puts somebody in their place. He's so brilliant in that movie. I kind of still wish, though, that was his retirement role, because I saw Anemone last year, which he came out of retirement for his son, and I didn't love that performance as much, but it's hard to deny what he does in Phantom Thread. So he's going to get my win. So I think that means, Saleah, we're like 3 out of 4, you and me. So we're definitely kind of simpatico right now. All right. So 3 options when we get to the vote. And I will also say, in terms of Gary Oldman, of all the Gary Oldman performances, why this one? I don't know. Klarissa, I nominated him in season 1 for Leon the Professional. That he didn't get the win, but I would agree that Leon is like a far more interesting performance that he deserved recognition for over this.
So good. So good. Yeah, I agree. I really do agree.
All right. Well, 3 options. So you can go with Daniel Kaluuya, who Klarissa has in the film Get Out. You can side with Saleah and myself, Daniel Day-Lewis, in Phantom Thread, or you can side with the Academy, who has Gary Oldman in the film Darkest Hour. All right, let's go over to the Best Director category now. So the directors nominated in 2017 were Christopher Nolan for the film Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, and winning was Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. It's also worth noting Greta Gerwig became the 5th woman nominated for the Best Director, and a lot of history for Jordan Peele that year. He was the first African-American winner of Best Original Screenplay, which is mind-boggling that it took that long. And he's the 3rd person in 90 years nominated for writing, directing, and picture for their feature film debut. So a lot of history for Jordan Peele going on in 2017. Saleah, why don't you start us off with your Best Directors?
Yeah. The one honorable mention I have for this category is Bong Joon-ho. I love, I mean, he's his directors. I know that he obviously had his big year with Parasite, which to me is my like favorite movie of his. But I think just kind of like going back, I do feel like that was a movie that from his, filmography, where I feel like it was just a little bit underrated that year, but it's also just so great and I just love it. So definitely have to shout him out for that movie. But kind of getting to my actual nominations, I'm actually going to give a nomination to Luca Guadagnino just because for Call Me By Your Name. Even though, I think I was kind of saying that even though that movie isn't my favorite from the year, I do think the direction in it is just really beautiful. It's just gorgeous, and it's kind of hard not to love that like lush Italian setting. So I do think the direction in that movie is just really great. So I feel like, he deserves that nomination, at least from my end. Nominating Jordan Peele and Get Out. Again, just that, like, what a, like, first movie, right? Like, it's just so good. It's just so crazy. And every movie that I've seen of his so far, I've loved, but like starting out with that, like, it's great. Like, it's just, like, have to give her a nomination. Also nominating, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread. I know I've talked, I think, enough about how much I love Phantom Thread, but it is, again, it's one of those movies where I think it is just a very beautiful, like, well shot movie, and it's, but have to give him that nomination. Also nominating Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. I think, again, I just love Guillermo del Toro. I just love his movies. I just love his imagination, and I just think that The Shape of Water is a beautiful movie. And I think, giving him that nomination, and nominating Greta Gerwig as well for Lady Bird. It's just such a great movie. I've again talked, I think, enough about how much I love Lady Bird, but it's just so good. And again, it's also like what a good, like, kind of like a first kind of movie, at least in that indie space. And I know that she's kind of made these bigger movies with Barbie, but I feel like, and saying like I love all her movies. I loved Barbie the year it came out. It's obviously this big phenomenon, has Margot Robbie, just like this great cast, but I feel like I still go back to Lady Bird as like my favorite of her movie. of her movies. And this was such a tough one for me, but I actually am gonna give it to Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. I was going back and forth with Paul Thomas Anderson and her, but I just love Lady Bird so much that I have to give my flowers to Greta Gerwig for this movie. So she
Hell
gets my
yes.
pick.
Yes.
So great.
I love that. So are you fired up for the Narnia that she's going to do?
I actually
Like,
am excited to see what she does with it. Even though I feel like out of the franchises, I was never like super stoked about Narnia, but I'm excited to see like what she does with it because it's Greta.
I'm the same way. Like Narnia's never been like my IP that I care about, but I'm like, am I going to doubt Greta now? No. Like, has she given me any reason to expect anything but brilliance? Like,
Yeah.
it's Greta. She's awesome. What a pick. I love that, Saleah. All right. So Greta Gerwig's on the board, Lady Bird. We'll go to me now, and Klarissa, you're going to close us out in director. Okay. Director, if we talk about stacked categories. Director is just a juggernaut with all of these amazing films. So, honorable mentions list, Chris Nolan for Dunkirk. On a technical level, it's hard to argue with anything that Christopher Nolan does. Dunkirk's not my favorite of his films, so he's honorable mention, but he's not going to get in. Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner 2049. Again, I just didn't have any expectation for Blade Runner being good, and then Denis Villeneuve, just knocked it out of the park, and it's obviously set him in motion for adapting Dune the way he has to such a great degree. And then I'm a Yorgos Lanthimos stan, so I love The Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's not my favorite Yorgos. I prefer Poor Things for me is the best Yorgos out there, but I do think he deserves an honorable mention. As far as my 5, though, first is going to go to Catherine Bigelow for Detroit. That is such a charged movie, and it's not a movie that I probably want to revisit for a long, long time. I've seen it a couple of times, and that's probably enough. But it's hard to argue the emotion that she draws out of the viewer with the intensity of the imagery that's put on screen. And I just feel like Catherine Bigelow does that kind of stuff really well. Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker. She knows how to elicit that kind of tension in a film, and I think she has to be recognized for Detroit. So she's going to get my first nomination. Second nomination, Jordan Peele for Get Out. That is a singular vision. I don't think anyone else that's walked planet Earth could conceptualize Get Out the way Jordan Peele did with his very distinct look at the world. Third nomination is going to go to Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, the great coming of age film of our time. I fully believe that. And Greta is just such a brilliant writer. She's such a thoughtful director. She clearly gives her actors the space to do amazing things, and so she deserves to be there. My fourth nominee is going to go to Chloe Zhao for the film The Writer. And I also just want to throw this out there to the person online who got really mad at me a couple of weeks ago when I said that I didn't think Chloe Zhao deserved to be in the current Oscar nominees pool for Hamnet, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And they felt that I was kicking the woman out of the race because, they didn't really know my taste. And I would just like to say, Chloe Zhao, I think she has a better film in her, and I think The Writer is the best film of Chloe Zhao's career. If you haven't seen The Writer, I highly recommend checking it out. Soaked in realism. It's a really great, gritty piece. And then my fifth nominee is going to go to Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. I love everything Guillermo del Toro has ever made. Much like Jordan Peele, he has his own specific viewpoint, and I don't feel like anyone else can make a film like a Guillermo del Toro film. It's his own world that he builds. Guillermo's my runner-up, but my win has always been since 2017, Jordan Peele. I think the Academy were a bit cowardice, quite frankly, in giving him the original screenplay award that year and not giving him Best Director. I feel like it was a bit of a culmination win for Del Toro, and I'm not hugely aggrieved by that because I love Guillermo del Toro and he's a brilliant person and he deserved an Oscar at some point in his career for probably Pan's Labyrinth. But I just think Jordan Peele was there. They had the chance to give him the Oscar for this movie that was a cultural phenomenon in 2017, and it was right there for him, and they decided not to. But I'm going to try to give Jordan Peele that win, even though I'm now pitting him against Greta Gerwig, so I do feel kind of bad about that because I would love Greta to get the win too. But that's where we're at. So Jordan Peele is going to get my win, and now we'll go to Klarissa.
Okay. Oh gosh, you guys. Still decisions being made. I feel solid now, but woo, um, amazing picks. I love that. Um, I have so many honorable mentions for this, which is hard, and I think we're down to two of the harder categories to pick of these six. So I'm excited, but honorable mention is definitely Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner. I can't even tell you actually how many times this has come up in like my film studies courses, because that's like part of my minor is film studies, and we talk about Blade Runner 2049 so much because it is so stunning, so well done. I mean, I was paying attention literally the entirety of the movie. It didn't feel like it was over when it was over. And I loved the way everything was choreographed in it. I mean, it was just beautiful the way the camera was moving in sequence with these actors. I mean, oh gosh, just so good. So big shout out for that. I'm also shouting out Bong Joon-ho for Okja. Just beautiful. I haven't seen a lot of Bong Joon-ho films. And so I really was so happy to see this one. It does have that deeper, gut wrenching theme, that needs to be discussed. And so I love the way that he did that so gracefully, but in a way that was like a strong punch to the gut. So big shout out to Bong Joon-ho. And then I am honorably mentioning Phantom Thread. I'm not nominating Phantom Thread. Oh, because I had too many. That's so sad to say, but it's literally my sixth. Like, if I could have more, it would be there, but I have to just honorable mention it. So, I'm going to start with my nominations with Greta Gerwig, Lady Bird. Ugh, everything's been said. It's too good. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss, Greta Gerwig. We love you. I am going to butcher this name. I hope I don't. But Call Me by Your Name, Luca Guadagnino. Call Me by Your Name is so stunning. Again, going back to blocking, but also kind of still frames where we have like a focus on the side of the pool, and then we're looking at a book, and then we're looking at the street, and it's like the camera. I was looking at how much the camera doesn't move compared to when it does move, and that's really notable to me. It's just there's so much intentionality to me there. I'm like, I can't deny that is a very specific and meticulous movie. So I'm gonna nominate that one. I'm not shouting it out. I'm nominating that baby. And then I am nominating Martin McDonagh for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, because again, it just knocked the wind out of my chest. I mean, I should just send you guys my notes while I was watching this movie. But I loved when things were filmed at night compared to the day, how they emphasized violence. And I know that there are a lot of people behind the scenes that go into these decisions, but I think at the end of the day, we kind of have the director as the main source of this is what we've got. So I really loved all of that. It felt like we had another character there as us as like in the voyeurism of the audience. I just really liked that. And it didn't feel as intentional all the time, but I do feel like there were times where I was like, oh gosh, I just feel like I'm right in the middle of this, So I love that. I always love that feeling. So I am nominating Jordan Peele for Get Out. Hello. So good, so haunting. And just like you guys were saying, such a statement movie. So I absolutely love Get Out. And then I'm also nominating Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. And that takes my win. Guillermo del Toro takes my win. Shape of Water is so otherworldly, but also it's a nod to a lot of the things I already love, which I think this is like a very personal decision to me. I love the original Universal monsters, and so Creature from the Black Lagoon having this kind of like nod to that, and this creature, and the beauty of all of the colors. I mean, I love Guillermo del Toro. I always have. So it felt like I had a good mix of that, my old Hollywood love, and we have that scene where we go to this black and white, just musical feeling moment. I was like, oh my gosh, Guillermo del Toro, you're reaching into my soul and you're giving me a hug, and I love you. So I'm giving him the win, but it's also just undeniably a stunning movie. It's so beautiful, and it feels like you're underwater the whole time. even though you're not, like, all the lighting is blue and green and the colors of the walls are blues and greens, and I'm just like, we're underwater the whole time, you can't even. And starting it out with her like apartment underwater, I just, oh, it's so otherworldly. I love it. Chills.
Awesome. Guillermo del Toro is going to he's going to have his chance to retain his crown. He's got some stiff competition though in Greta Gerwig from
Yeah.
Lady Bird, Saleah's pick. Jordan Peele, Get Out, my pick. Again, we all had all of these people in our nominations, so I don't think any of us are going to be upset if one of the three wins, because how are you going to argue with any of those? All right, we're going to get to the best picture, though. This will be interesting. We'll see if any of us veer from where we went in best director. Sometimes those align, sometimes they don't. We'll find out. Okay, so in 2017, the actual best picture nominees were Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Top prize going to The Shape of Water. Now, this is a year where we have 10 spots if we so choose to. So if you want to nominate up to 10 films, feel free to. You don't have to if you don't think that many were worthy. I'm going to start off this round, and then I will go over to the two of you. I am so happy that I finally get the chance to use 10 slots because I've had so many years in the past few months where I've only gotten 5, and I just feel like that's unfair. If I have 10 opportunities, I will use 10. There are always 10 movies to me that deserve a nomination. Number 1, let me get to an honorable mention first because it's such a deep field. Logan, The Florida Project, Revenge, Phantom Thread. Those are my big honorable mentions. Check those out if you haven't seen them, especially Revenge. Again, if you like the substance, check out Revenge. Okay, so as far as my actual 10 nominees, Blade Runner 2049, brilliant science fiction, just top tier science fiction. Coco, which just makes me cry so much every time I go to it. I've got a lot of nostalgic connection to it because my oldest son was born right around this time, and so we watched Coco a lot as he kind of grew up, and so Coco holds a near dear place to me. Detroit, again, tough film. I don't love watching Detroit, but I think Detroit is kind of an essential piece that people should watch. It's an age old tale that unfortunately is still something we're dealing with in society every single day, unfortunately. But I do think it's something that deserves a place here. I'm going to put Dunkirk in my top 10. I do think that Christopher Nolan does a lot with that film. And I also think it's maybe Nolan's most focused film. It's actually his shortest film in terms of runtime. I do think he kind of contains himself in that movie really well. And so I do think it deserves a place in my top 10. Get Out, for all the things I said about Jordan Peele in the past. The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I think is a really interesting dark fable that Yorgos Lanthimos has crafted, and it's an oddly rewatchable movie for me, which is strange because the subject matter is brutal. Lady Bird, for all the reasons we've mentioned for a couple of hours now. Paddington 2 is going to make my 10. That is another movie that's just like a warm hug. Paddington 2 is almost a perfect family movie. Like it's a wonderful movie. I love the Paddington series. So Paddington 2 is going to make my 10. Chloe Zhao's The Writer is going to make my 10. And then The Shape of Water, the best picture winner that year, does deserve placement for me in my top 10. I love all of these movies. They're all great films to me, but I think one separates itself from the best. It's topical, it's pointed, it's scary, it's funny. It's a thrill ride of a movie that I continually go back to. It's rewatchable. There's so many clues and Easter eggs. It's Get Out, which I think is one of the great feature debuts in the history of film. I really think it's that important and it's that influential, and it changed the landscape of Hollywood, I think, from 2017 until the present. So many filmmakers have been allowed to explore things thanks to sort of the ground that Jordan Peele paved in 2017. And obviously people paved the way for him, but he has created a new path for people. And I just think that movie is so brilliant. It's a genius piece of filmmaking. It holds up 10 years later almost. And I don't have a single critique about Get Out. I think it's a perfect movie. So that's going to be my pick. Okay, Klarissa, let's go over to you now.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I love that. Also, I love that we have more than 5 for this category because I was going to honorable mention stuff and then I said forget about it. I am just throwing it in there because I freaking can. So I love that. So many great shout outs to a lot that I'm also adding to the list that I didn't get to. I'm really bummed I didn't get to Detroit, especially from all this raving. It's one that I'm gonna watch like ASAP. It'll be my Manhattan melodrama from our last episode. Like I'm going to watch it, I promise. So I definitely am going to watch that one. But let's see. Taking away honorable mentions, I have 9. Wow, I have 9. Wow, that's great. That's crazy. I didn't think I'd have that many. I have 9 nominations. So I'm going to start out with The Post. This was a movie that I really loved. Visually so pretty. It's pretty, but I also was just completely taken back by this story. Wow, I was having so many feelings about the events going on and so much admiration. It felt very patriotic in the right sense to me. And there was a moment where I was like, wow, you know what? Like, I was worried what the Supreme Court was going to say at the end. And then I was like, yes, First Amendment. Yeah. So I like that little moment. Warms my heart. So I'm going to give that a nomination. I'm also, of course, nominating Get Out. Ugh, Chef's Kiss. It's so good. If anyone listening hasn't seen Get Out, please watch it. Like immediately, just go watch
Stop
that
this
movie.
recording
So
and go
good.
watch it. Yes.
Yes, leave and watch it and come back. I am also nominating Blade Runner 2049 for every reason we've talked about. And this, again, when I was going through this year, I was surprised to see how little recognition it got. I'm grateful it got cinematography. It definitely deserves cinematography, but I'm like, this was great across the board. I have no gripes about Blade Runner, and if I don't have a single gripe, I feel like it's got to be thrown up there. So that is one of my nominations. I am also nominating Phantom Thread. So great, so fantastic. I'm nominating Darkest Hour. That the way that that movie is put together, and clearly there was a very big team to do everything, but even like things that were done with the computer, things that were done with the maps, the the phones, the keyboards. It was just really aesthetically pleasing while also very intense. So I like that. I'm nominating Loving Vincent. I raved about it a little earlier, but whoa, that movie is so ambitious, and it is another one that got literally no recognition. I mean, I think it's got some nominations. Like it got some in some of the smaller categories, but still, I'm like, oh my word, to see the mass of what this film took on. And I mean, I was crying by the end, and not that that's a hard thing to do. I cry constantly, but I still was just like, it really just was so emotional. And I think that those are questions I've always had about Vincent van Gogh, And I was like, ooh, kind of a whodunit. Like, I never saw that coming, but very fun. So I'm going to nominate Loving Vincent. Call Me By Your Name is also a nomination of mine. Again, everything I said for director translates here as well. I really loved the way that that was framed. As if I haven't talked about it enough, I'm nominating 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Again, like hit me at the knees, and I was like shocked, baffled, jaw on the floor. So great. And then I am also nominating Shape of Water. And that has my win. So I was gonna maybe do this misleading thing where I was like, oh, I don't know, but no, it's Shape of Water. I kind of told you why, but this is like a love letter to me. I love so much of this movie. It's so beautiful. I love that Andrew gave a shout out to our creature as well. That is such an emotional performance, and wow, what a performance to have through that costume, that creature, no language other than learned sign language, which is another part of that movie I just love so much. I could gush and gush and gush. It's so good. But yeah, so every reason that I said for director translates here for picture. This movie is so stunning. I don't know if there's anyone I wouldn't recommend this movie to, because I'm like, oh, it's just so good, you guys. And they don't have to like it, but I love it. So that is my win, is Shape of Water.
Would you say that it's your favorite Guillermo del Toro film, or is there another one that you like equally or more?
You know what? Probably, yeah. I would probably say that this is my favorite. I love so many of his movies, but yeah, this is the one that just is the most Clarissa to me. so, uh, so again, like shout outs to Pan's Labyrinth. I love Crimson Peak. Also, he did, or I think he produced Rise of the Guardians, the cartoon about like Jack Frost. That's a comfort movie of mine. So I love you, Guillermo del Toro. What? So I just like across the board love him. Also Frankenstein, great or whatever. But yeah, so this would probably be my favorite.
I feel like for some reason some people dislike Shape of Water, and I don't know if it's like because it's got the Best Picture win and people like to, take down the Best Picture winner, but I feel like this is almost the culmination of Guillermo's career up until that point because it captures his love of monster movies, it captures his love of classic Hollywood. It's just this, yeah, to your point, it's this beautiful love letter to all of these things that have influenced Guillermo growing up, and I just think it's a really wonderful movie. I'm so glad. It's a cool win too. Like it's a genre piece. It's just everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Saleah, Get Out, Shape of Water. It's your turn now.
So I'm gonna start with my honorable mentions. It's so funny. I realized like I had some of my movies written down. I was like, I couldn't read it, and I'm like, I need to figure out what I wrote before. But for some of my honorable mentions, and it's some that both of you have also mentioned. It's funny. Paddington 2 is also one of my honorable mentions. I know I nominated you, Graham, but I just love the Paddington movies so much. I just think they're so fun. They're also my comfort movies, but I just think it's just a fun movie, and that like gets one of my honorable mentions. I will also give Detroit an honorable mention as well. I know at the beginning I was talking about how it is a difficult watch, and it is a difficult watch. It's definitely one of those movies where I don't think I'll be watching it anytime soon, but it's kind of hard to not, kind of give it, the limelight it deserves in terms of, Catherine Bigelow, the performances. I do think it's an incredible movie, and I again feel like it's very underrated, and I do think even if it is a hard watch, that more people should be watching it. So I do want to, make sure it gets its people are able to see it. I also really loved Revenge. I know I talked about that a little bit earlier too. But that after I love the substance so much that I was like, I really want to see Caroline's first movie, and I loved it. It's just like such a it's such a crazy movie, but it's also so great, just like what it's about, and it's just really fun. And I think, again, horror is one of my favorite genres, and body horror is one of my favorite genres, and I feel like that is always a genre that I will try to highlight in like Oscars and awards because I feel like it just deserves more. And I am glad that it is starting to get like slowly retreat. But even this year, I mean, so many great movies actually did get highlighted, but that's one that I definitely wanted to point out. I also Call Me by Your Name because it didn't make my nominations, but I do feel like it does deserve the honorable mention. That kind of to the same things I was saying before, that it is just such a beautifully shot, very lush movie. Timothy Chalamet is great in it, but it's kind of hard to not give Luca a shout out for this movie because it is just such. Again, I feel like I could just like I wanted to go to Italy after watching the movie. Like I wanted to book a flight immediately after just because it looked so, just the way it was shot, it was just beautiful. It was lush. And then the last movie I'll give an honorable mention to is actually The Big Sick. I just really love that movie, and I feel like it didn't get as much. Like, I know it got the screenplay nomination, but it just felt like as a movie, it's just like a very sweet story that I just really, really love. So I remember watching it that year and just like really was just like loving it. So that's one I just wanted to give a shout out to. But then getting to my nominations, and I think I also have 9, and I'll go in order from like 9 up till my first one. But I'm actually putting I, Tanya as one of my nominations just because that was a movie that I just really like. I know you talked a lot about the performances in it, but I think as a movie too, it was just a really great movie as well. And so that kind of gets the last slot. But I'm also putting my 8th nomination is actually Blade Runner 2049. I feel like I didn't talk about the movie much, but I agree with it. All of you are saying, like, I loved it. I also really love like the sci-fi genre, and I feel like that's something that just want to give a shout out to, and the director too. I didn't mention Dennis and the directors earlier, but I feel like every movie that I've chosen here, if I didn't nominate the director, gets an honorable mention for me, because obviously the movie can't work without the director. But I did really love Blade Runner 2049, and I think it gets my nomination. The next movie for me is Killing of Sacred Deer. I know I talk a lot about how much I love Yorgos, but that is just, even as dark and twisted as it is, I do think it's a really great movie that I actually also strangely can rewatch. I actually rewatched it even before I started this rewatch. I actually introduced it to my boyfriend for the first time, and he was also like, this is a very dark movie, but he did like it, so I'm glad that it wasn't one of the situations where I like introduced it. He's like, why am I dating you? So, but Killing of Sacred Deer is a movie I give a nomination to. Another one that I want to nominate is Okja. I know I talked a lot about that movie, but I think it's not my favorite Bong Joon-ho, but I still think it's just such a great movie, and is an underrated one. So I'm nominating that. Another one that I'm nominating is actually The Florida Project, Sean Baker. I just really loved it. I know I talked a lot about Willem Dafoe's performance earlier. I think all the performances in that movie are great. And actually also wanted to, I think the child actress in it, Brooklyn Prince, is so great. I didn't shout her out during the actress category, but I think she's incredible in it. But yeah, I actually think Florida Project is my favorite Sean Baker. I love Honora so much, but I feel like I'd go back to Florida Project a lot because I just really love it. Kind of getting to I think I'm down to my top three actually. But my top three, Get Out, Jordan Peele. I feel like we've talked about this movie enough, but like, how can you not love it? It's just incredible. My second last movie is Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson, because it's just, again, I feel like I've talked enough about how much I love this movie. And then my number one pick and my pick is probably not a surprise to either of you because I've talked about it so much, but Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig. I love Lady Bird. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm pretty sure it's in my Letterboxd top 4 too, but it is just one of my favorite movies ever. And so that gets my pick this year, for this year, 2017. I just love it. So that's my pick for 2017.
It's a perfect movie for, yes, we have three perfect movies here that are going to go head to head. So our director and our picture battles will match up exactly. So we'll see if there's any differences on the votes or if they're all going to line up, because you're going to have Get Out, which is my pick. You've got The Shape of Water, which is Klarissa and the Academy's pick, and you've got Lady Bird, which is Saleah's pick right there. Man, we have shouted out like 30 or so different movies, which just highlights how crazy this year was. I mean, it was really only until I started prepping it that I realized 2017 was just bananas.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I actually have one more. I cannot believe I didn't shout it out. Can I throw it out there?
Yeah, sure.
So fast. You guys, Baby Driver. I know I already mentioned it, but Baby Driver, I love so much. I actually think I go to Baby Driver more than most movies in this year because it's just such a good movie. So that's it. Just had to throw that out there that I do love Baby Driver a lot, and I think it deserves all the love in my heart. So, hey, Baby Driver. Sorry, that was all. Continue.
I'm sorry. I feel like I have like one last thing I have to say because I actually think I forgot to mention it because I can't read my handwriting right now. But I forgot. So I actually think I only said my 8 movies, but Shape of Water is one of the ones I nominated as well. Like I feel like that's another movie we've all talked about, but I circled it and I was like, this is on my nomination. Then I realized I didn't say it. But like, yeah, I love Guillermo del Toro, so that is one of the movies I nominate. But just wanted to make sure that I said that because I also just love that movie so much. So
there will be no wrong answers when we get to the votes, because I think we have thrown some really good choices out there, and people are going to have some challenges on their hands when they get to the voting, because Lady Bird, Shape of Water, Get Out are very different movies, and they all have their own distinct fan bases. So it should be some fun battles that we put up to everybody else. But yeah, awesome stuff. Before we wrap things up, though, I just want to remind everybody, I will take time to answer all the 2017 listener questions. We'll do a special mailbag episode that comes out a week after this goes up. I think I've got like 35 questions that came through. People were very excited about this year, and so there will be a lot more to dive into on that mailbag. So thanks for everyone to sending those over. I always appreciate them. It's going to do it for this recording, though. It's only the beginning, though, because our picks have been made. It's now up to you, the audience, to vote on what goes into the Almanac as the true winners. I'm going to be putting up social media polls on 5 platforms in the coming days. We need your votes to be cast. Again, the more places you follow the show, the more opportunity you have to vote for the things that you want to vote for. Before we sign off, though, I want to allow Klarissa and Saleah to plug all of the wonderful stuff they have going on. I want to thank them both so much for being on here. Klarissa, I've seen that one is continuing to take off as a podcast, as an extension of what you're already doing on Instagram. You've got the book at work. You have so many things happening. Why don't you tell people what they can expect from I've Seen That One and everything that you're doing over the next few months?
Yes. Okay, so I just announced that I'm doing new really short Friday segments. So I just kind of wanted to step out of the norm. So my show follows my book where I just recommend 100 movies I think anyone and everyone should see. And so I talk about with a guest those movies and kind of dive into the journal. So if you're interested in like purchasing the journal and joining us, we just go through it the same way you would after you watch the movie. So you can kind of gab with us about it. But on Fridays, I wanted to open up a discussion to talk more about old movies. So with Sarah Shea and Kate Westworth, I do talk a little bit more about Golden Age goodies. I do new release newsroom where we talk about movies from the previous month with my friends Sawyer and Hudson. And then my parents are going to start a segment with me, which I'm really excited about. They're the ones that got me into movies, and they're so silly goofy, you guys. Just hilarious. Like my dad's the kind of guy who will use a stud finder and like put it on himself and be like, whoa, there's the stud. So he joined for a good time. And then the last Friday of the month, I'm just gonna debrief what I watched for the month because I took mad inspiration from Andrew here. I love listening to his episodes where he just talks about all the movies he's watched because Andrew watches an insane amount of movies. And I'm like nowhere near that amount of movies, but I do have so many that people will reach out and be like, what are you watching lately? And I'm like, where do I even start? So it's going to be fun just to have some of those little segments. I'm hoping they're going to be about like 15 to 45 minutes long. But that's kind of what's new with me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm streaming my podcast, I think everywhere you can get a podcast. I should probably check that, but at least I know Spotify and Apple is there. So
The big places.
So yeah, thank you. The big places. Yeah. So but I've seen that one.
And you continue to take off and get bigger and more expansive, and it's just been, I guess it's been like 2.5, 3 years at this point that we've like been connected, and it's just been amazing to see the growth of your channel, and it's been so wonderful to just stay so close and connected to you, Klarissa, and you constantly inspire me to try harder, and I'm just so appreciative of our friendship. And so thank you again for taking the time to do this. It's always so special connecting with you.
Oh my gosh. Andrew, I cannot even tell you how lucky I feel anytime I get a message from Andrew, period. I'm just like, yes, yeah, that's my friend. That's my buddy. But just being able to be on this episode with you and go down another year of the rabbit hole again. And Andrew is one of the very first people who reached out to me. I was very nervous about joining the movie space. And I mean, I seriously think I had like 50 followers, and Andrew found me and just messaged me. And he was like, I love what you're doing. And immediately my confidence just like shot through the roof. So Andrew, like I will gush forever about you as a human, as a person, as a friend, as a host, but really just thank you. Thank you so much for literally everything.
That's so nice of you. Right back at you, Klarissa. I get so excited when I see your little icon pop up in my DMs. and that goes the same for Saleah too. Saleah, we've sort of bonded on this episode because I'm like, every time I hear you talk about movies, I'm like, we have the same movie taste basically. We are the same movie person more or less, and so it's been fun to connect with you and bond with movies with you, and it's been a wonderful, a budgeting relationship that I've been so grateful to be a part of. And what do you have on the way with all of the things you're doing? Because again, you're writing for Gold Derby, you're doing all of these different things. What should people expect from you, Saleah, and where can they find you?
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm always writing. It's just like,
how do you do it?
But Yeah, people can. I feel like I'm on every social media platform. I feel like I'm most active on Instagram. If people want to keep up with what I'm watching, I'm on Letterboxd as well. But I try to share all my work across pretty much every platform. So, Twitter, LinkedIn, but also a lot of the work that I kind of do with some of like events I cover. I usually tend to cover like on Instagram and TikTok. So pretty much every social platform. I don't think there's a lot of Saleah Blancaflors out there. So hopefully people can find me. Because my handles, I think for the most part are the same, but it's usually just like my name or your name, but my name will be there. So yeah, lots of reporting. I feel like, yeah, I've been doing a lot of reporting for Gold's Review recently. I write a lot for Fast Company, Inc., Observer, just a lot of different places. I'm not going to list all of them because I think people, but if you Google my name, you will probably find an article at some point. But no, this was really great. I have to say, Andrew and Clarissa, I'm so glad that I got to join. I feel so lucky that I got to meet both of you over the past year. I love making new movie friends, and I'm so impressed with what both of you are doing in the movie space and with your podcast and all the work you're doing. So I'm really glad and happy that I got to be on an episode with both of you. So
that's so nice of you to
Oh
say.
my gosh.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I've done a little bit of freelance writing here and there, and I know how hard writing is. So much harder than podcasting. Trust me, Klarissa, you have literally written a book, so you know the hardships of putting together a publishing process. And Saleah, I have no idea how you write all of the articles that you do. That is so much work, and every time I read it,
Seriously.
I'm like, this is crazy how much you do. I'm so impressed with you.
thank you.
All right. Well, again, so wonderful to have the two of you here. I was just a blast. This was an amazing year to cover. But do look out for the next episode that's coming up. So, fourth episode of season 3 is going to kick off in April. I'm going to be joined by another returning guest and another person making their Almanac debut, just like we did here. So I'm going to welcome back a good friend of the show, Britt Reinholds Hobson from the 1001 by 1 podcast. And I'm also going to be welcoming in Nico Caruso from the Movie Archer Podcast Network. The three of us are going to cover another relatively recent year. That's going to be 2012. So we're going to be talking about movies like Django Unchained, Les Mis, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Zero Dark 30, many, many more. But that was the year Ben Affleck's Argo took the Best Picture prize. Again, once you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Letterboxd, Threads, TikTok, anywhere there's a social media platform. The handle is Rev Almanac. There's going to be timestamps on this entire episode, so you can go back to a specific category if you need to. I will, of course, have all of the information, so you can find everything Klarissa and Saleah are doing in the show notes. Please find them, follow them, engage with these two wonderful movie people and wonderful friends of mine. It was a pleasure being here. I'm Andrew, and I can't wait to see you next time.